Looks like it. Not via Zoom?
Not via Zoom. 5 minutes. I don't know.
All aboard is coming aboard.
That's right. Ready to rock and roll.
No.
Need yet? Okay.
What's the name?
Don't tell Sarah.
I wanted to make it, but I
wanted to
had
go-
done a high before. By the time I was like,
No, I wanted to go, but my allergies were really bad.
The dogs, we are. All in good friendship.
Sure. And that's why you don't want me to tell her. Because you're. Okay. You ready?
I'm ready. Is Abby ready?
I don't know. Abby, are you ready? I'm doing my best. Okay, well, you let me know when you're ready. Okay, good evening. We will call the meeting to order. This is the time and the place for the May 5, 2025 regular board meeting of the Marshalltown Community School District. Welcome to all of you joining us here in person this evening. Welcome as well to anybody who might be watching on the live stream, or either live or at a later date or time. We'll do a few. I suppose we should do introductions before we do anything else, right? Shouldn't we? Okay. Board members here this evening will start to my left. We have Karina Hernandez, Maria Morales, and Leah Stanley. And to my right, Zach Wall and Elizabeth Wise. Immediately to my left is Dr. Theron Schutte, the superintendent of schools. And to my right is Mr. Randy Denham, our board secretary. And I am Sean Heitman. We've got two of our student school board reps here this evening, Caitlin Yepes Ramirez and Charles Gilbertson. That's all the introductions we'll do. We've got a pink sign-up sheet there on the speakers table for anybody who wants to address the board during public comment time. You will be given 5 minutes to speak to the board. Please understand that Iowa law prohibits the discussion of specific employees of the district or their job performance. Also, in accordance with board policy, board members will not respond to comments made during open comment time so that we can comply with open meeting laws. I think that's all the announcements we need to do. Would you all please then join me in reading the mission statement of the Marshalltown Community School District? We develop learners who have the knowledge, skills, and positive mindset to successfully pursue a meaningful future through personalized learning experiences. And please stand as you're able and join in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Are there any changes to the agenda this evening?
There are not.
And is there a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Morales, Stanley? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carries 6-0. And we're off and running. Abby, you've got some recognitions tonight?
So first off is an informational item for Teacher Appreciation Week. In honor of Teacher Appreciation Week, the Marshalltown Community School District celebrates the incredible dedication and impact of our educators. More than 70 local businesses are proudly displaying appreciation cards filled out by students sharing personal messages of gratitude. Community members are encouraged to stop by participating locations, read a few of these student notes and take a moment to thank the many outstanding educators who have shaped the future of Marshalltown. Through their daily actions, our teachers embrace the lead, inspiring learning, fostering connections, and making a lasting impact or lasting difference in the lives of students and families. And then, since I know we're waiting for Drake Relays.
They're here.
They actually just walked in.
Sweet, that's even better. So I'll ask him to come up
Is
front.
Coach here?
See?
Okay, that's all right. So we'll jump down to School Board Recognition Month. It's my distinct honor to recognize and commend our Board of Education during School Board Recognition Month. This year's theme through ISB is A Guiding Light for Student Success, which beautifully captures the vital role each of you play in shaping the future of our schools, our students, and our community. In a time of change, challenge, and opportunity, you stand as steady beacons offering clarity, direction, and hope. Your commitment to public education is not simply a matter of policy and procedure, it's a powerful expression of service, vision, and belief in the potential of every student. Through your tireless advocacy, thoughtful governance, and unwavering support for our educators and staff, you ensure that every decision centers around what is best for students. You ask the hard questions, you listen with empathy, and you lead with purpose. On behalf of our entire district, I thank each of you for your leadership, your dedication, and your heart. You are truly a guiding light for student success, and for that we are deeply grateful. On behalf of the students, staff, parents, and the whole Marshalltown community, I thank you for your service.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I also, at this time, would like to recognize two of our student school board reps. We have some that will be here this meeting and not next. We have some that will be here both meetings. Some that may be here next week that we're not able to be here today. So we've got Caitlin and Charles with us. Thank you guys very much for the time and commitment that you've made over this past year. You've definitely made our board meetings a lot better with your input and participation. So we wish you the very best as you head into this next adventure. Thank you.
What Photoshop's for? You remove the baked potato app.
It's very convenient these days. Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
So here to talk about Drake Relays and Kansas City race results, head track coach Bob Gilbertson and a few of his runners are here tonight to talk about the performances at the Drake Relays and the competition. I'll let them introduce themselves and talk about how the races went. Pass it up to you.
I'm Preston, and I ran at the Drake Relays in the Kansas 4x-mile.
I'm John Mullers. I'm a senior, and I also ran at Drake in the 4x-mile.
Yeah. And then I'm Coach Gilbertson. And first, we can just maybe talk about Kansas. So we were here a few weeks ago, it seems, to ask for about that. And It was a great experience. These two, along with Parker Gooding, and then Carter Nunn, and then Miles Goldman was an alternate. We drove down on a Thursday night, got there at about 10:15 in Lawrence, and got up the next day at about 6 a.m. and got ready to run, and was a little auspicious start. Preston was lead off, and he was out there for seemingly a long time. Got called back a few times. Had to go into the locker room for a little bit. They had a lot of malfunctions with the timing system, but once the race got going, they competed really well. Preston got us off to a really great start. Parker and Carter kind of picked off a couple guys here and there, and then John on the anchor leg, I believe, how many? Passed 3 guys?
Yeah, 3 guys.
3 guys. And ended up, what was our time?
18:25.
18:23. 18:23. So, and that, it's a little bit short of what we had wanted to run, what we thought we could run. The good news is, and will you guys share that?
Yeah, we got the provisional standard for Nike Nationals in Eugene, Oregon, and it was right on the very edge of not even, because provisional means you're considered for it, but so we were on the just edge of being considered for it, and they ended up accepting us last Wednesday, so that was pretty cool.
So now we're in the process of trying to figure out transportation out there and registrations and all that stuff for Nike Outdoor Nationals in the middle of June. So then the next week was Drake Relays, and then these two competed in the 3200, and I'll let them tell you about the race.
Yeah, so I got 6th place. It was a really huge competition. There was the best kids in the state. Every single guy was there. Let's see. Preston got 9th. Preston is now 4 seconds off the school record, and he's only a sophomore. So I actually did break the school record, but it will be broken soon. So
Oh, good motivation.
I like it while it's lasted, but I am accepting it.
Yeah, the Drake Relays is kind of the unofficial state meet because it has all the classes. So it was fun to experience that and get a chance to run with some of the best guys in the state.
I would say it was a great experience for them to actually get in a race. They'd ran that race a couple of times in different meets, and they've had to do all the pacing work themselves and do all the work to run fast. And this time they got to be in a competitive race, and each of them ran about a 10-second PR from where they'd ran before. So it was really, from a coaching standpoint, just fun to see their potential realized in that event. So it was really nice. And now we're just getting ready for tomorrow night. We go to Ottumwa for our Iowa Alliance conference meet, and then we host the state qualifying meet next week on Thursday. So.
Well, for those that aren't track enthusiasts, the Drake Relays are one of the premier events in the country for collegiate runners, and obviously, I think for a lot of Iowans, they value it as much or sometimes more than state just because of the fact you're running against all classes versus just your class. And then, so for you guys to finish 6th and 9th or whatever it was, and then to be 4th and 8th, wasn't it 6th and 8th?
Yeah.
Yeah, 6th and 8th. And then in the class, it would have been 4th and 6th. And the fact that John beat a school record that a state champion for Marshtown had set, that's an amazing feat for both you guys. And, obviously the future looks bright for Preston with a couple more high school years to go. I believe you were the only team from Marshtown to ever run on the Kansas Relays. Back in the early days, I'm sure you're not aware of this, but the best athletes in the state used to get special invites to go to Chicago to run in a Chicago Invitational. So there were a few times where we had state champions or I think generally it was state champion individuals in hurdles and some other races run in Chicago. And I know one placed second back in the early 1900s. So it was really a special thing for your coach, number one, to have the foresight or whomever to request that you guys go to that meet. And we're very proud of you representing, and going to Eugene even makes it all that more special. So obviously you'll have to get out quick in that race too. Yeah, congratulations.
Congratulations,
We're really
guys.
proud of you.
Congratulations, yeah.
Okay, moving to the consent agenda, we've got minutes from the April 21, 2025 meeting. You're an actual agenda item, Susan. You're an actual agenda item. You're not in the recognitions. I know, I could tell you were mad at me, but we didn't skip you. They do have to stay too. Yeah,
It'll be quickly.
we'll get there quick, right? So we got minutes from the April 21, 2025 board meeting. Jackie, anything to note in personnel this week?
Just that we have a big list.
We do have a big list. Looking at interagency agreements and contracts, we've got an electric line easement extension agreement with Interstate Power and Light Company, an agreement with McFarland Clinic to provide athletic training services for the upcoming school year. Licensed training provider agreement with the American National Red Cross. Why does this keep jumping on me? Contract with Responsive Schools to provide responsive classroom services to be funded out of teacher quality funding. An engineering service agreement with Marshtown Community School District and Clapsaddle Garber to provide surveying, design, and construction for the athletic complex paving and sidewalk. An amendment to the MCSD Franklin Field Engineering Service Agreement between the school district and Clapsaddle Garber Associates. An engineering service agreement with the school district, Clapsaddle Garber, to include Würzburger Architects. An elevation data sharing agreement for both flashlight learning and elevation. A renewal agreement with Junior Achievement in Central Iowa for Junior Achievement Program for the 25-26 school year. A rental agreement with JP Party Rentals and the high school for inflatable rental. An agreement with the school district and school administrators of Iowa for 1 year of administrator mentoring. We have a special education student agreement with Clayton Ridge Community School District. Are there questions about any of those contracts or agreements? Looking at open enrollments for the current school year, there are 2 out, both continuations. And for the upcoming school year, we have 3 in and 1 out. Randy, anything to note in the bills? Nope. Any questions for Randy about the bills? Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Wise, Morales, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carries 5-0. Nobody's on the pink sheet, so you're up.
All right, we got a big team.
I see that.
However you want to do. So okay with y'all?
Yep.
I'm gonna sit. I'll trade out with someone because I don't talk very much.
They both work, but you turn that one off.
Oh.
Now you got it on.
Figures.
Red is on.
Red is, yep. Go ahead and talk because it's
Oh,
turned
I
on.
see. Okay, thank you. Well, thank you, school board, for having us here tonight. Super excited. It's been a fantastic year at Rogers, and I have enjoyed it so much. And as you can see by my awesome team, we're excited to tell you a little bit about all the great things that have happened this year. I'll scroll on down one more. Thank you. So with me, we have our building leadership team representing all different jobs across the building. And so as they present their piece, I'll just let them introduce themselves. A couple of members couldn't be here tonight, but most of our team is here. On this first slide, you'll see up in the left-hand corner, 100% of students and 100% success. So this year, my goal and vision for Rogers was for every student to grow at least one academic year in both literacy and math. And so that has been our focus for 100% of kids, no matter where they were, to grow at least one grade level in literacy and math. We have kind of looked at that trajectory. Don't know if we're going to make 100, but we're going to still shoot for it. And for me as the building leader, what's really important for me is that 100% of my teachers feel like that they have grown in their efficacy. And so that is my charge as their leader, to help them achieve so that they can help our students achieve. And so, as you see, we have on our Rogers Pride t-shirts. We're very proud of Rogers, and I am actually going to pass it off to our SRS, and she will introduce herself. And I'm going to step out of the way.
Hi, my name is Suhei Alvarez, and I am the school resource specialist at Rogers. So I do want to talk about our attendance rates. So you'll see I started back in 2021. So we were at 34.25% chronically absent, and that was like COVID coming back to a normal school year during COVID. So in 2022 to 2023, we went down to 30.76. 23 to 24, 25.4, and now to this current year, we are at 18.3 chronically absent. So we have been going down, which is amazing. Different strategies, incentives that we have been doing this school year is every quarter we do a dress up day. So quarter 3 we did When I Grow Up I Want to Be dress up day. So you'll see different students dressing up as a firefighter or a NASA astronaut or police officer. We also did a March Madness bracket, so our winning class did earn a pizza party. So Miss Ashley's class did come out as champs, so you can see some pictures of her classroom enjoying the pizza party. And each semester we do a best attendance reward, so that data is a weekly data dig that I check each classroom to see which student had 95% and checking our chronically absent kids to see who was improving in their attendance. So the first semester, Mr. E's classroom won an ice cream party. So our ongoing efforts that we have been doing this school year is our weekly attendance meetings with Dr. Harris Medina. So we meet every Monday. I do collaborate with our school nurse. She did make sure to send out a letter to families the beginning of the school year about illness and making sure to, if they are feeling okay, that they are able to come to school. We have increased our family communication and education on attendance policies, and then support from the Iowa state law that was passed in July 1st of 2024 and reinforcing attendance expectations. So I'm also the social media ambassador for Rogers Elementary. So I'll just talk about our social media. So from May of 2024, we were at 205 followers estimated. Today, we're at 640, so we're at 647 looking at today. So in our social media presence, we do highlight our students, staff, and school events. We are increasing visibility and community involvement. We are expanding our online presence for future growth. Our social media presence has grown exponentially thanks to the efforts of our school community in sharing and engaging.
Nice.
Hello, my name is Chelsea Castle. I'm the instructional coach at Rogers. I'm going to start out talking about our ESSA work. As you know, our school has been labeled comprehensive for several years now, but last fall we were able to go up to a needs improvement status on the Iowa School Report Card, which was very exciting to us. But we have continued to do some of that ESSA work. So up until November, we worked with the DE doing observations in our CKLA. We've continued those observations with some of our central office people and have taken kind of more of a coaching approach to that this year. Some other work that we've done in relation to our ESSA is the Engaging Learners training that we took in December with Lead Forward. We've done observations in and out of the building. Teachers were able to go to other buildings to see CKLA being modeled. And our CKLA rep came and modeled lessons for our teachers as well, certain parts of lessons, and were able to do some observations and give feedback to our teachers. And Lisa Wymore also provided some sheltered instruction work for our teachers as well to help guide us in our work with our ELL students. Yeah, and at the bottom there, you can see our data. This is from our work with the DE. This was from our last observational data. We use our Amplify tracker, and as you can see through our data that in each of those areas, we have shown growth in our core instruction. So. All right.
Sorry, Chair. Hi, my name is Julie Vincent. I am an ELL teacher at Rogers. As many of you may know, this is summative assessment testing time. It's just that time of year. And teachers and administrators are all eagerly awaiting the results of these summative assessment scores. But we have some exciting news to share from last year. The ELL students at Rogers made some really good growth that we are proud of. On the 2023-2024 ELPA 21 summative assessment, 65.48% of English language learners at Rogers demonstrated progress towards English proficiency. This growth surpassed the state's average of 60.21 of EL students demonstrating growth. At Rogers, we know that monitoring students' language acquisition skills, identifying student needs, and responding through lesson delivery is essential for continued growth. This April, the district rolled out a language acquisition tracking tool, Flashlight 360. EL teachers at Rogers are working diligently to develop common formative assessments that inform and predict students' speaking and writing skills on the ELPA test. But most importantly, it identifies students' instructional needs and helps us to develop individualized goals for the students based on their learning needs. The EL team at Rogers understands that our common formative assessments must be inclusive of not only ELPA standards, but equally as important, the core essential standards in literacy. I look forward to seeing you next year when I can show you some Flashlight 360 scores after it's been infused throughout the school year.
Thank you. Hey, it's me again. This year we've created some really good put some really good systems in place where we are really looking at our data and talking about individual students and doing a lot of problem solving. We began this MTSS framework where we get everyone together, our ELL, our title, our special ed team, and our classroom teachers, and we analyze our data. Approximately every 6 weeks, we're looking at our progress monitoring, we're looking at our summative data, we're celebrating any growth, and we are problem solving through students that aren't quite showing the growth that we want them to see. And getting everybody together, we get so many different perspectives for students, which is absolutely amazing because we've done some things we never thought. If it was just, a few of us discussing these students, we wouldn't have thought of some of the problem solving that we have. I mean, we've put in counseling for some of our students, leadership opportunities for some of our students that we think would benefit them in the long run with their academics, and also discussing some of the sheltered instruction that different teachers have put in place that really have helped our students. So coming together and hearing everybody's different perspectives has been absolutely amazing. One of our other structures that we put in place is called SST, and that's yet another acronym for Student Solutions Team. So this is kind of like our problem-solving team. So those students that we've tried to problem-solve in MTSS and we're still not seeing that growth, any teacher can fill out an SST form about their concerns, and it can It includes academic concerns, behavior concerns, whatever concerns teachers might have, but they fill out a form. And we schedule a team meeting for whoever is involved in that student's success, any stakeholders that are involved with that student. And we problem solve, we create a plan to collect data, both academic and behavioral, and talk about the interventions that are already in place and kind of how we can beef up those interventions. And we have follow-up meetings for those individual students every 6 weeks and adjust their plan as needed. So out of the 24 students, 17 of them we've shown great growth with, both academically and behaviorally. So it's been an awesome system that we've included this year. So yes, so there's that. All right. Thank you.
Okay, so my name is Courtney Arp, and I teach kindergarten at Rogers, and I'm here to talk about our wonderful BLA staff and our student paras. So we have Miss Karina and Miss Edith as our BLAs, and they support our students. They support newcomers by bridging the group of instruction VISTA curriculum to the classroom learning. They clarify content misconceptions through translation between English and the home language. And just a little personal note, I love having our BLAs accessible to my students when they have questions about what they're learning. So they're able to ask those questions right there in real time, and can they get their answers or get their questions answered. They reinforce essential learning targets with repetition, discussions, and visuals, and enhance academic vocabulary and comprehension through targeted support. Mr. Osmore, Miss Emerson, Miss Stephanie, and Miss Emily are student paras that we just recently got, and we love having them as well. So they assist our students who struggle with engagement by providing focus strategies. They offer instructional support such as sentence frames, manipulatives, and visuals. So another personal note on that, Mr. Osmore works in my room in math, and so I will have him work with some students that just need some engagement help on focusing strategies and things like that. So he'll bring over manipulatives and sentence tips, visuals, just to support those students so that they're successful in their learning. And then the last one, they help students stay on task and successfully complete lesson activities.
Hello, I'm Nancy Cross. I'm Nancy Cross. I'm the art teacher at Rogers and Franklin. So I'm so happy I could make it here with them when I was at Franklin today and buzz over here. We have lots of positivity coming from our school with these committees. I have not seen the positive, how do I say this, energy in our building until this year. So we have monthly CARES assemblies. Towards the end of the month, we celebrate students in each grade level, as well as have some type of game or activity to motivate them to want to try their best and always be their best. And CARES is a big part of that as an acronym. Student of the week, student of the month. On Monday mornings, we have at our morning meetings announcements of students of the week or students of the month. And students cheer their own on, and if they know someone in another class, they're cheering them on as they're hearing them over a video conference that we have with Mrs. Will, and the kids love to have that happen. Traveling Trash Can Award, you're probably wondering what that is. That would be the classroom that is the cleanest and neatest that's been judged by our custodial staff. And so the class that has that award announced at the assembly gets to keep that as a treasure until the next assembly. And then we also have the golden toilet, and that would be for the bathroom. When they have their turn using the washroom, that when they leave, it's as clean as it was when they came there. So I think that's been a great incentive and has helped in our building quite a bit. And then morning meeting MASH, this is cool. So we'll have like a kindergarten class come and visit a second grade class, and they'll have a buddy that they team up with, and they'll do some activity, which has been prearranged by the second grade and kindergarten teacher, so that they feel that they have someone else in the building that they are a friend with, or they can relate with, or is there to support them. I saw that with Miss Ashley's class this past week, and just to see the kindergartners and second graders smiling because they're so excited to see each other is just refreshing to see that they're another reason to want to be at school today, because they know they're going to have that MASH get together on that day. Staff engagement, we have monthly potlucks where people sign up and they bring food. There'll always be a theme. So the nice thing about that is that if you're ready for a change from what you normally bring from home, it's something nice and new and probably a little fancier than what we're used to. The Woot Woot Wagon, this is something new we never had before. It's a traveling cart. They surprise us by coming down the hallway and into our room, and it's full of delicious beverages and snacks, and they're like, woo, woo, they're here to celebrate. And so teachers walk up and get their snack and drink for working hard at our school. And I think it's cool because the kids are kind of like, teachers are getting something instead of it always being them. So that's been fun. That really has. And holiday celebrations, we try to get together when we can as a staff to celebrate those. And then underground dress-up days, like this week, and in the past, we'll surprise the kids by just wearing outfits that are under a theme, and they have to try to figure out what that theme is. I think one of the cutest ones was we had an elf that sat in our hallway in a tent, and they were trying to figure out why that elf was there. So. And that was Miss Swell doing her best to portray that. So, but that was cute. Fundraising, we've had a lot of success with it. We've raised around $2,500 this year through doing penny wars, which is classes competing, putting pennies in the jar, and then if they put silver in the jar, it counts a negative instead of a positive. But in the end, it goes with the total. Pie in the face, we had 4 staff members, one of them being Miss Will, as well as our PE teacher, our third grade teacher, Mr. E, and Miss Meldy. And so I don't think they even knew up until the actual pie getting thrown who was going to get the pie in the face. And so that was fun to watch. And of course, our PE teacher, who was a good sport, and took it, Mr. Dreyer took it well. Popcorn sales, we've done this when we've had like our glow dance and different things like that to help raise funds, but at the same time make it fun for the kids. And then our carnival snack sales. With the carnival snack sales, I don't know if you want to help me fill in on that. We had it's coming up. We haven't had it yet, so, but it's something we will be doing down the road here. So.
And then we also have had many family nights, and it's been really good this year with our established PTO. And we started this year with a resource fair. This was to bring awareness to all our community has to offer for the families. Around 20 agencies came to support our families. Then in December, there was a night for cocoa, cookies, and crafts. January, we had the glow party that you mentioned. That was put on by our student engagement committee and our PTO. It was a huge success with dancing and fundraising that was happening, and they were able to raise money for things that they want to do for future events. In February, we had a Love to Read night where the title and ELL teachers welcomed families and explained their programs. Then the families made bookmarks, read books with flashlights in a cozy atmosphere. Then we'll wrap up the year with our annual spring carnival with family games, food, and prizes. So hopefully some of you can come join us for that carnival.
Thank you.
Hi there, I'm Ashley Berdines. I teach second grade, and I'm with communications. So we've had, I don't know if you want to click on it, but we had our weekly staff newsletter. I think that's something that Rogers needed. We needed a system of teachers and everybody in the school knowing what's going on. And so Ms. Will has done a great job letting us know either on Friday or on the weekend, like here's your newsletter, what's happening during the week. We also have like some videos that she has there for us to see. And then We always have a coach's corner that Chelsea will write some things that we need to know, and anything that our counselor needs to let us know for the week. And anybody can like say, hey, can you put this on there? Because we need teachers to know. So that has been a great addition to have back at Rogers, to have a system for teachers to know. Our staff meetings, you know, they're very engaging and fun, and it's not like, oh, we have to go to a staff meeting. Everybody's excited to be there because we want to get to know what's going on in the school to make it positive for our students and our staff. We have our morning meeting live videos announcements. I'm going to say that I really appreciate it because our kids are very happy to have it on Mondays, like who's the student of the week, what's going on. And when we had the delays and stuff, the snow, the kids were like, when are we having it? You know, when are we having it? Who's the student of the week? And so that's something nice that we've had that I really enjoyed, that the kids enjoyed. Anything like announcements. If I know last week I went to Ms. Wells' office and I said, hey, is there something that we can just announce in our morning meeting as a whole school with behavior or something that everybody's aware? And she did, and it got fixed in my classroom. So that's something nice to have for like as a whole school. We have our monthly parent newsletters, which I think has, I don't know if you want to click on it. But that's kind of like our staff newsletter, just anything like save the days, anything that's going on at school for parents. And I think it's gone really great because I haven't had a lot of parents message this year in my class like, hey, what's going on or what's dates or what's coming up. They all know from the newsletter. So that's something nice. Remind messages. I think my classroom, I bet, and everybody's has gone very well messaging them. Our social media, like Suhei was saying, it has gone very great. Seeing the presence, you know, when you open Facebook, you know, oh, Rogers, something's going on. And I think parents have liked it too, because I know at conferences, parents are like, I'm so grateful to see my child on Facebook. Or why have I not seen my child on Facebook? Okay, I'll make sure I'll take a picture, you know. So I think being from Rogers, because I went to school there, seeing the difference of that we've seen this year has been very positive for the teachers, the students, the families. Everybody's eager to go to work. Students are eager to come to school, which has brought like great memories back. So I'm very happy for that. And we have our Thursday take-home folders, which I think is great for letting the students know and the families know. Thursdays, make sure you take your folders home. In my classroom, I reward them if they bring it back. That way they know that they have to be responsible. So that's something that got brought back to our school. So Thursday folders. So thank you.
All right, I'm on. Okay. Yes, awesome. My name is Kendi Manners. I'm the school counselor at Rogers. This is my second year, and I get the honor of speaking about our responsive classroom and Fly 5 initiatives. Responsive classroom is our approach to learning. We aim to cultivate a safe, joyful, and engaging learning experience for all of our learners. It has a lot of different principles that we use to help aid in classroom management, school-wide, academic, and behavioral skills. So we're all about the holistic development of our students. That SEL piece is achieved through our Fly 5 curriculum, which is what I get to teach out of through my guidance lessons in collaboration with our teachers. Something that's been new across all of our elementary schools, it was a big initiative through our school counseling PLC, was to collaborate and make our school-wide initiative, our school-wide expectations would be our CARES standards, which are the standards that we go through and that we learn about in the Fly 5 curriculum. So every elementary school has probably shared a little bit about this, but we took our school-wide expectations, synthesized them into different areas throughout our school, where you can see the posters on that picture. There's a couple of them, which is some work that our BLT did over the summer, this past summer, to get ready for this school year as we kind of synthesize what should those expectations look like in our common areas. And we got posters made. You can see those. I think that the board's coming tomorrow to Rogers, so you'll be able to see more of those posters and in person. And that's just so that our students know what to expect in all of the different areas. And then obviously our classroom teachers kind of went up through and wrote out what their expectations were, synthesizing them into CARES, cooperation, assertiveness, responsibility, empathy, and self-control. And that is something that our counseling PLC, we wanted that to funnel into Linehan in a smooth transition so that everyone had the same language. So that's been really successful for us. And you can see, I think Ms. Cross had mentioned our CARES assemblies. I wanted to speak a little bit to that. We have those two pictures on the right are from our last assembly, which was just on Friday. So thank you for getting my slideshow updated. I just wanted to plug those in there. Those are students of the month up there, and they were nominated by their teachers, and they showed the best self-control that month, which coincided with the time frame of our self-control lessons in the school. So each month of our assembly, collaborate or cross-reference with our cooperation lessons and our assertiveness lessons. So as the kids are learning those standards, they're also being nominated by their teachers and awarded when they are showing positive self-control and all the others. And so then they also got the reward of participating in our game at our assembly that Mr. Dreyer has done a great job with setting up for us. And so they were knocking down bowling pins and stuff like that. So those two things, I'm really fortunate. I love responsive classroom and think that it has gone super well for us. Next slide. Okay, and then SABR's data. This is a needs assessment that teachers complete for students K through 4. It assesses in the areas of social, academic, and emotional behavior. So again, getting in that holistic view of the child. Some really cool data on this as I was looking kind of longitudinally from the start of SABR's through this year. This is super fresh data, the 22%. We just got this spring data turned in. Awesome job, teachers, getting that done for me. But this shows us our percentage of high-risk students in our building. We want this obviously to be as low as possible. We want a low percentage of high-risk students. And that just means that they showed in at least, I think it's at least two areas that they were in the high-risk category. And so you can see that we were kind of hovering, averaging around that 30% for several years. And then this year has dropped down to the 20s. And that is, I think, in just due part to everything you've been listening to in this presentation has brought that percentage down, included with our academic supports and then in the counseling realm, our what I do with individual counseling and small group counseling and our school-wide just initiatives, I think have brought that number down. And so I saw that and I was like, whoa, we've got to get a table on the slideshow because it looks really nice. And so there it is. So that's all I got.
Love it.
I'll talk about this data in just a second because I'm very, very proud of this. But I just wanted to bring it back a little bit to some of the things that my team said. One of the things that they really tasked me with when I came was we need good communication and we want to have a voice. And so right away what I did was, okay, how do I do that? Communication is a strength of mine, but I built a building leadership team. And this is the development of that team. And throughout this year, we meet twice a month, more if we need to, less if we don't have anything to discuss, but we usually do. And then we have, with this team, developed all of these systems. So yes, I am the leader, but I want you all to know that if it wasn't for my staff, we wouldn't be where we are today. I set the vision and I said, this is where we're going. and they jumped on board and ran with it. All of those committees, they're all staff run. I really am pretty hands off, and they plan every event. They'll ask me questions. Can we spend, they'll involve me as much as I need to be, but they are doing the hard work to make Rogers be a different school this year. And so I don't want to take the credit, because truly my leadership team and then all of those committees have built this successful year. So I'm just really, really proud of all of these people here with me tonight. But to kind of wrap up our presentation tonight, again, this is pretty fresh data. I think you're going to hear about the District Human X data tonight as well. But very, very proud that we increased across every single dimension in our Human X data. And then, and what that does on the next slide, basically, it allows us to know that what many of these teachers said tonight, that they are enjoying coming to work and they're engaged in their work. And we all know that when my teachers are coming to work and they're feeling good and they're feeling confident, that our kids are going to achieve. And so I'm just super excited that we've had a 22% raise in this satisfaction and engagement for our staff this school year from last year. So I think that says a lot about what everybody's bringing to the table, and I'm super proud of them. We really appreciate you listening to our long presentation, but I felt like it was really important for you to see the team that we've built and how that has impacted our overall school. And we're excited to have you visit tomorrow as well. Do you have any questions?
Well, I would just echo what you said, Brooke, about in order for all of these great things that you're talking about to happen, it has to first start with employee satisfaction and engagement. And so you guys rocked it both in participation and performance as it related to growth. And so you couple that, or that's going to trickle down to student climate and culture being really strong or stronger than what it had been. Engagement, attendance, as Suhei talked about, proficiency gains, which Chelsea talked about. We are also really excited to see what the ISS scores look like at the end of this year, especially after the great accomplishment of getting off that comprehensive list last year. So congratulations
We're ready to keep moving on up. We're going all the way to the top. Thank you.
Congratulations for all the great work that you've been doing. It's amazing to see the pride, the Rogers pride in it. I know that you give a lot of kudos to your team, but it also starts with you. So thank you for being a great leader.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Where can we get a T-shirt?
I know someone.
Okay.
Just talk to Tanya. She can hook you up.
Okay.
The only one not
Susan. and everybody else.
You might need to grab another chair, or I can get up and move in a second. So I'm really proud.
You're not on. Now you're on.
Okay. I'm really proud to bring some of my History Day students here to you tonight. This year has just been a really, really fun year for me because my students have been so engaged and working so hard. And I've always said to them, I'll work as hard for you as you work for yourselves. And they have kept me very, very busy this year. So in National History Day, I think we had at the high school level 19 students go to the district contest, 18 moved on to the state contest. Miller and Lenahan also had huge numbers, equivalent numbers, 20 or so students from each level going to the district contest, and each of them had a group going to the state contest. So it's just fun to share all this with you. So that slideshow, I don't know what it is. I just put that together because I just wanted to highlight our different national qualifiers. We had two groups, one in senior group performance, qualify for nationals. That's Tinker versus Des Moines, Isaac Benscooter and Isaac Seeberger. They're going to be here in 2 weeks. scroll ahead. This is our other national qualifying group. They produced a group documentary, Parker Christian, Preston Johnson, John Mullers, and Jacob Sieberger, who is not here tonight. And I'll let them in a moment talk about their project. Plus, we don't need to go through all the others, but we had 2 groups who were runners-up to go to nationals, so they were 3rd place in the state. The top 2 go on to nationals. We had another student individual exhibit come in 4th at the state contest. So it was really competitive, and they really did well. Just to back off a little, National History Day every year has a theme. This year's theme was rights and responsibilities in history, and then students have the choice to pick a topic that they think fits the theme, and then they get to pick a venue in which to show their findings about that theme. It requires a lot of critical thinking, analysis, group work, communication skills. Each of them has to create an annotated bibliography. How many sources did you guys have? 86. They had 86 sources, which they annotated and separated primary and secondary. So this is a huge amount of work. And what's really cool is they're not doing it for a grade. They're not doing it for credit. It's not a class. They're just doing it because they were motivated, trying to get to nationals, and they're also really competitive. We had 3 excellent group documentaries going into the state contest, and I think that kind of pushed you guys a little bit. And you are competitive, we know that. So I'm going to turn it over to them, and they can tell you a little bit about the process they went through to create their documentary.
Yeah, so we chose the group documentary category. Me and Parker worked on a documentary last year, and we got alternates for nationals, so we just came up short. So we decided to do it again, and we recruited John and Jacob, and yeah, it was really fun. We put a lot of hard work into it. Got a really cool interview with Governor Tom Vilsack, and it really came together nicely.
So our theme, the Bible Proclamation, I actually didn't get a pick. I joined the group a little later. It was mainly just Isaac, Parker, and Preston that started. Anyways, they started it, and I joined a little late, and yeah, we went to the Historical Society in Des Moines and went to Iowa State, got resources, mainly primary. Usually it's not a lot of primary, and it was a lot of secondary, but because of the topic, and we're in Iowa, and this is a Iowa subject, it was easy to find primary sources. Oh, yeah. So the Bible Proclamation, it's also known as the Foreign Language Proclamation. And after World War I, Iowa, our governor, after Germany, he didn't they thought that Germany was now an enemy, and so he restricted every single language to be taught, spoken, published. And so, other than English, yeah. You want to?
Yeah, so coming off of that, we made our argument, our thesis is that while it's the government's responsibility to promote unity and security, when they fail to uphold rights, it's the citizens' responsibility to fight back for these rights which were restricted from them. So that's kind of our thesis that drove our presentation. So yeah.
Any questions?
Remind us when the trip is.
The trip is June 8th through 12th. We got to get back by the 12th, so these guys can go, I think, on the 13th to Nike Nationals. Oh. 2 of them, yeah. So, the contest starts on the 9th, and awards are on the 12th in College Park, Maryland, University of Maryland, which is Washington, D.C. So it should be a fun time. I'll be taking 6. And then Ann Jackson at Miller had 1 student qualify in individual documentary, and she'll be here in a couple weeks, I hope, to tell you about that. Yeah.
Congratulations again. Thank you.
Good luck.
Thanks.
Thank you very much.
Congratulations.
Do we need to approve any?
Brad, you're up.
Are we set with the slides? Perfect, perfect. Well, that was a perfect segue with the earlier one. In fact, that was the #1 building in the district.
Nice.
And one of the things we talk about in our research in our book.
Hey, Brad, your microphone's not on. There you
better?
go. Yep.
So you can all hear me now?
Yeah.
So one of the things we talk about in our book, we highlight Marshalltown in the book, but we talk about the organizations that drive student engagement, and there's a strong direct correlation between staff and student engagement and learning. So as Aaron was saying, it's terrific to see. So as we go through, can we forward? So we go through the results. Let me just give you a little bit of background. We've done this a number of years, so it's well established as a foundation. Terrific results and growth similar to what you saw in the building highlight. But it's a confidential anonymous survey, so that's one of the reasons why we get such high participation. It's not about who's going to find out what I said, it's that I said it, that I feel free to express my view. Nobody speaks for somebody else, they speak for themselves. Nobody cancels anybody out. They're heard. 4 areas assessed, and this is also part of the design why we get high participation, is that people are realizing that they bring culture every day themselves. There's a lot of I questions. It's not perfect symmetry, but it's basically broken into 4 parts, that there's I questions, there's we questions, there's who I report to, and the overall district. So everyone's got a job to do if you're going to create a great culture. And that's one thing that is different about our design, and that first and second piece are key. Do you have a team, and are you contributing to the team? And so again, just in terms of design, I'll mention that. If we can go on the next slide. This is similar again to when we saw the top building. Terrific to see. So there's a couple things that we look at. #1, it's on a Likert scale 1 to 5. So 4 is the threshold of strength. So you see all except for 4, and 3 of them are just barely under, are at a strength level when we average the entire district. So that we can look at that and say, wow, strong culture. In a typical district or a typical organization, because we do it beyond education, we'll typically see 5 of these 15 that are strength level. So you see obviously many more than 5 that are strength level. And on the bottom one, you can go down into the 3.2, 3.3. Well, your worst is a 3.86. And it's the same dimension in the world, that is in 15th place. The world doesn't have a great example of how gratitude, appreciation are a part of a culture. You also see in the right-hand column, everything got improved. We look at 0.1 as a statistically significant threshold. So you had 15 out of 15 that improved at that threshold that you look at and say, that's not just minor, that is measurable. Some of them as much as 0.22, 0.26, really hard to move something, a 0.2 and almost a 0.3. Let me just go through real quick. In the interest of time, I'm not going to go into a lot of detail, but you won't be surprised that pride is the #1 driver and correlated item to engagement. Much like you saw everyone walking in with their uniform, they were proud. You don't wear your uniform if you're not proud. So those are first cousins, really, or almost twins. When you have high pride, you have high engagement. Low pride, low engagement. So the more you drive pride, real pride that you've earned about the impact you're having, the standards you have, the successes you're having, you're driving engagement. So 4.29, pride was the highest dimension, engagement, which is you're giving it all. #2, one of the key outcomes. The next 3, engagements, quality, and satisfaction, are what the culture building is designed to drive. You want to drive a culture where people give their all, where quality work is being done, and you have a reputation for quality, and you want to do it there, which is basically the way of saying satisfaction. I want to give my all, and I want to do it here. that's when you get the two that are sitting at the top. Continuous improvement means you're never satisfied. You're raising the bar on yourself. We don't stay in third grade our whole life. We go to the next grade. We get our new book. We get more homework. We grow our capability, capacity, and that's always key to a strong culture is continuous improvement. Relationships is the glue. You could feel that when you were watching the Rogers presentation. You could watch that in any culture where it's strong. You can feel the connection with people. You can't have a great culture without great relationships. Innovation is a level above continuous improvement. It's the shifting the paradigm. It's the first ever. It's the best ever. Learning, across your industry, profession, or outside. It's the paradigm shifting. Training development is investing in knowledge and skill growth, development of talent. Career development is one of the top 5 predictors of engagement, and it only in our research got to the top 5 in the last 2 years. It was never in the top 5 until the last 2 years, which is basically a signal you better be investing in your people or somebody else will and get them. So retention and engagement go hand in hand with career development. So somebody could say, could I be here for 5, 10, 20, 30 years? Could you talk to me? Would you listen to me about where I could go after I learned this, how I could grow? So career development is not a minor optional thing anymore. It's almost a standard expectation. Talent and fit is not only the role that I'm in and how I'm a fit for the role, but the standard of selecting one more like the best. And so when you see a .22, we know that's way above what we would typically see. That means there's a lot of rigor put into the process of selecting one more like the best. Mission consciousness is why we're here, a purpose. We're in the kid business. That ought to be, to the point where people feel like they're intrinsic millionaires. They're changing lives. They're doing things that can't do in other professions. So it draws people that are drawn to a profession where you have a strong purpose. Performance planning is consistently in the world going to be a bottom 5 item with a score a lot lower than it is here. And that is where you collaborate and plan ahead for where you're going to go. You hear people with a future orientation, a growth mindset, when you have performance planning engaged. In the world, it's like, well, let's talk about last year after it's all over. It doesn't work well to engage when you're talking about what already happened. Support and equip, again, as you can see, Rogers, I think that was the one that shot up like 0.4 on that team. You've got a leader who's like a servant leader. What do you need? How can I help? I'm here for you. You can always feel the impact of a leader who's there for their people. And that really, the best, if we're in our research, the best leaders on those scores are there for everybody else, not the reverse. They kind of turn it upside down. Communication, one of the most important, one of the hardest, consistently in the world, 14th place, so you're in the normal place, but a 396 is not a normal score. So there's people that are pulling it up, as you again saw with Rogers. Hard to do, important to do, and you'll never do enough. And what you did yesterday, that's like yesterday, got to keep doing it. The demands are there constantly. And last but not least, recognition. Again, in the world, it's 15th place, but in the world, it's usually no higher than a 3-4, and it's a heavy, hard one to lift up. But where you can and where you do, and again, you saw it in that last presentation, how many people and how many parts of the organization were being recognized in that Rogers presentation? It's like it's a game day. At whatever stadium I gotta be careful, I'm from Nebraska. So, whether you're in Iowa City or over in Ames, it's the stadium's full, you feel the energy. That's what happens when recognition is strong in a building, in a district. It adds to the engagement. It's one more way to reflect strong relationships or to feel the impact of strong relationships, because care and gratitude go hand in hand. So that's the summary of the district. Very strong scores, 15 for 15 improvement, 15 for 15 in the threshold of statistically significant improvement. So I'll stop there for any questions that you might have on this piece, which is the essence of the district. Ready for your test? All right, I won't test anybody. Next slide. So the highest items got better. Number one out of 92 questions is I'm fully engaged in the work that I do. Those are the billboard items. You want to put that out on the highway and advertise the whole community. Do you know that the people, that are with your kids today feel this way? Wow. These are things to be proud of. When you're talking about, the level of participation, with as many people as we're talking about, to average a 4.59 on a Likert scale of 1 to 5, hard to do and terrific to have. I feel great pride in the work I do. Obviously, those go hand in hand as we talk about them. They're twins. You don't get one high with the other one low. I'm driven to contribute to the success of our organization, 4.48. Driven to contribute is not a passive word. That's that's the reflection of somebody's really engaged when they say, I'm driven to contribute. I'm not just sitting in the seat, keeping it warm. The one we talked about earlier in the reference to talent and fit, in my role, I have the opportunity to do the things that I both do well and enjoy. Both do well reflects skill, enjoy reflects talent. When you enjoy what you're doing, you are highlighting something that you're made to do. And then 91 comes from our relationship dimension, and it's also a key part of our growth mindset dimension or index, and that's I take complete ownership for my attitude and effort, embracing a growth mindset. So it's kind of the bottom line proxy for I bring culture building to the district. As we talked about before, in those I questions, that's the key I question, and people are responding about themselves. Now, we'd love to see a 5 on that, but it's a journey. But your scores are high and everyone improved. So again, I'll stop for a second if anybody has questions about these items. Hope you feel proud when you look at those scores.
I think this is the 4th year I've seen these, and every year it gets better. I don't know if I've ever seen all green on every one. How often do you see that?
Maybe 10% of the time. Hard to do. Yeah. It's like you're a decathlete and you're improving in every part of it. I mean, just using the Drake relays kind of reference. I know where I'm at. We don't have things like that in Nebraska. But it's hard to do. It's impressive. Because that means a lot of people are lifting it up. You can't do that with one building. Now, you get a Woodbury and a Rogers and a few others like that, and you go, that's advantage. We got some Usain Bolts on our track team, pulling that up, but very impressive.
Feels like they have a purpose.
Yeah.
Right? They have a purpose. They take pride in what they do.
Yep. And the kids benefit, the communities benefit, the families benefit. Because kids come home going, who was I with today? And this is not separating classified, certified, and grade level, and one's important one. It's anybody, everybody. It's the bus barn, it's the cafeteria, it's everybody. The kids don't think about titles, they think about behavior. Who's somebody who's caring about me? Talking about the toilet awards or the trash can awards or whatever it might be. It's like, hey, I'm taking pride in being clean and not letting, the custodial team down. So that's really a great culture when it's everybody. Now we'll go to the other end. So the worst, there's always the bottom. And question 9 is the world's bottom, 3.28. I've received meaningful recognition in the past 10 days. So we always ask, none of the questions not as low, well, are you giving it? Well, that score is usually a point higher. So what people are doing is giving themselves credit. I give it, but people are going, well, I'm not feeling it. So if it's like I walk in and go, great job. Well, who really felt that? What am I talking about? How is it meaningful? So it's not that there isn't intention and effort. It means people have a ways to go before you hit the mark. So then this is again where in our framework we use professional learning communities as kind of a framework. Where's the best building on recognition? What are they doing? And why don't we learn from them? They become the teacher in the district. So we break down these dimensions on lower items and ask the best, can you teach us what you're doing? Because it's not about the address. It's not about the kids that are in the building. It's about the culture that's being built, regardless of the address. So a 3.28. If you keep moving that a 0.23, a 0.23, a 0.23, pretty soon you're going to hit a 4. I provided the opportunity to spend quality time with my supervisor. Education is famous for that being lower, but the scores in education are far lower than yours. And a 0.23 is significant because there's usually a span of control in terms of how many principals for how many staff. Hard to do. But quality time is the key. Opportunity is a key part of it, but that improvement is significant. And again, 0.23, 0.23, 0.23, 0.28, 0.30. Those are hard. That's 2x or 3x what is a threshold that's noticeable. Our organization selects the right people for the right job. Pick your favorite team, you're following it. You're not doing what the Browns and whoever, maybe Chicago, whoever else is doing. It's like, we're getting the right people. And when you get the right people, other people notice. So when you have that bar high, when you have that target, as we talk about, select one more like your best. And Michael Jordan shouldn't be playing baseball. He's got a role where he plays, basketball in a role. So it's not just about talent of the person, it's talent and fit for the role. And that is a terrific score to get and terrific improvement. And then overall, our organization selects highly talented individuals when hiring. So there's pride in, it's like the Navy SEAL, like everybody can't get a job here. Just because you want a job? No, you got to hit the bar. You got to try out. Just like, athletics or any other world, it's got to be a bar that you hit because, you want to make sure that the person's saying, I'm not doing their work when they come. I got inspired when they came. That new person, wow. I'm more excited about the next year when great talent join the team. That becomes that pride flywheel when you just watch, the new selections. So that's the lowest item, and you watch how they all improve. So again, the tide is rising. Questions on the bottom?
I'd be interested as a board member to know more over time what we're doing. I know we briefly talk about it at board meetings, but when we talk about recognition, sometimes I feel maybe people do a lot for our district and how we recognizing them. I know Dr. Schutte has an award, but we can't give awards out to everybody. But it'd be interested to know what can we do better there.
One thing I'll say is we just witnessed it earlier. The more you can let the leading teams, the Rogers, the Woodburys come up here, that whole building's feeling proud. Everyone knows who's coming. And somebody who's, third, fourth, fifth place going, how do we go? How do we get there? When are we going to go? Well, it's a team thing, as the principal highlighted. So the more you can have kind of those team recognition where everyone's included, wearing the red shirts, we go to, this is also highlighted in the book where a lot of this work started 17 years ago. It's a 28 building district in Chicago, nationally known, elite. Well, you walk in and there's 28 buildings and they're all wearing different color t-shirts because there's a lot of pride in 28 buildings. They have all A and A plus. Imagine 28 Rogers, in a big suburb of Chicago. They're famous, but it's because there's building pride. And you don't want to let, anybody down. And you know how good they are, and when you joined, you felt like, oh, I'm a top draft pick. I made the team. And there's an expectation of kind of tradition and history, how good this is. And I've got to uphold, how good it is. And they keep raising the bar on themselves. They do the survey twice a year. They've done it twice a year for 17 years. And there's an expectation no one's going to regress. So it's kind of like, again, 28 Rogers and Woodburys, pretty cool. Anyway, that would be, one suggestion would be really, focus on A, buildings. What are you proud of? Beyond the overall engagement, which is kind of the bottom line, there could be a building number one in recognition. Could be another building number one in communication. Could be another building number one in whatever. So if you give everybody kind of a choice to be recognized, that can create that momentum. Next slide. So this is something that we build in, and frankly, your state leads this. I'm not saying number one in the country, but top 3 in the country in the whole mindset about the adults have to lead, the charge, whether it's teacher leaders, instructional coaches, or broadly speaking, growth mindset in academia, whether it's Carol Dweck or Angela Duckworth. They've made this famous with some of their research, but it's where you are embracing challenges. And when the adults are embracing challenges, that sets an example for others to embrace challenges, continuous improvement, growth, things like that. So when we see 3 quarters that are high, as soon as we see that big red, it's like, wow, that's significant. We can go to the next slide, and there's some highlights, more details. This is how you end up with all the red. 4.46 on I take complete ownership for my attitude and effort, embracing a growth mindset. We talked about that earlier. A very high score on a very important item. And all the way through, so everyone's got a role. There's a team role. There's some part of the organization. But the majority of a growth mindset is the individual. So again, it's kind of a self-report card that people are giving themselves. And if everybody's taking the report card, it's like, all right, then we're going to, again, lift the team. We're going to lift the organization. So again, very strong. But it keeps the focus on we're climbing the stairs. We're all taking the stairs. We're not blaming the weather, the world, politics, whatever. We're taking the stairs and raising the bar, and somebody's, going to follow that example. Any questions on Growth Mindset Index? Again, overall, great scores and 100% improvements. It's the third slide we've seen on the district where everything got better. Hard to do. So now we're moving into single digit from that 10%. And I said if we see like the dimensions all positive, that's top 10%. When you go to the top one and the bottom one and this one, now you're in the top 5% in terms of how often we would see that consistent improvement on everything we're measuring. And then to the next slide. This is kind of the bottom line. You saw this before. So I spent a number of years mentoring the longtime chairman at Gallup when I was running strategies and practices about culture work. So some of the seminal work that was done, where I came from at Stryker was taken to Gallup. So I'm well schooled in how we measure that. In the world, that 67 would be 31. So a context to your district. So the world would report about a third of us are giving our all and want to be here. Okay, you're 67. Last year's 56. And on the rim, which is where you don't want to be, you cut it in half from a year ago. So it's almost like you took anchors out of the water and you increased, the horsepower in the boat, and now you're going up to the next level. And I'll mention it just as I talk about Woodbury and Rogers. You had 2 buildings that hit the championship level. So when we're measuring elite cultures, it's 80%. And those 2 buildings hit and achieved above 80%. You can feel that when you walk in a building, it's like there's just something in the air that feels different when from the employees, anonymous confidential survey, not a principal blown on the thermometer, but when everybody participated, they're reporting how they feel. And, 280s or 2 plus 80 plus pull up the district overall. So that's the bottom line. Great progress, very strong. You should be proud, and you are mentioned in this book. So, and people all over the country are getting this book and reading about Marshalltown, Iowa. So, questions that I can be helpful with? Ready for your test? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Brad.
Thank you.
Hello.
Hi there. My name is Emma Kropfel. I'm a health promotion specialist with the American Lung Association in Iowa. And we work under the state's tobacco use prevention and control grant. So I'm here today to talk about tobacco prevention. That also includes vaping and nicotine products as well. I know there's some confusion with that, but just wanted to put that out there before we get right into it. So if we look at the next slide, I'll just kind of show, this is our service area under this grant. Here in Iowa, there are a lot of organizations that work under this grant, and they cover all the other counties. Like I know in Dubuque, the Visiting Nurses Association covers this grant. We cover Adair, Dallas, Jasper, Madison, Marshall, Polk, Union, and Warren. And I specifically work in Jasper, Marshall, and Polk. The Lung Association overall focuses on everything related to lungs. So working with schools to help students with asthma action plans. So if they have an asthma attack while they're at school, what are we going to do? What are the steps we need to take? Where's the inhaler? I have colleagues who work on with policy at the federal, state, and local level, and then others that work on grants like mine. We can scroll down 2 more slides now. So under this grant, we do a lot of things. We work on tobacco-free, nicotine-free, smoke-free homes policy. We talk to healthcare providers, and then we talk to community members and schools about vaping, nicotine, and tobacco products, what the tobacco use rates in Iowa look like, and then what programming is available. So I'll kind of highlight all of that for you guys tonight. So specifically looking at vapes, the broad term we use is electronic cigarette. They might look different, as you can see by the diagram on there, but they're all going to operate the same, and they're all going to be battery-powered devices that deliver nicotine, flavorings, chemicals, and other substances. Some terms we know that they may be described as our vapes, tanks, mods, pods, pens, or e-cigs. If we go to the next slide, as I mentioned, they all operate basically the same. They have a battery that's going to power the device, a coil that's going to heat that liquid inside of the device. It then, when inhaled, becomes an aerosol. I know that, at least when I was in high school, they were advertised as creating vapor. And that's a very common misconception. It's an aerosol because of all the chemicals within it. When I go in and present to students, one of the things we talk about is how does water vapor look and how does aerosol look? And water vapor, you're not really going to see it. It's going to be clear because it's water being sprayed in the air, right? Versus an aerosol. So thinking about like if they see someone vaping, they're going to see that cloud. So they know that there's a lot of harmful chemicals in it. They might not want to be around it, right? So yeah, they might look different, but essentially they're all going to operate the same. Oh, and I just spoke about this. So it's not a harmless water vapor. It is an aerosol. Some of the substances within it might be nicotine, ultrafine particles. Diacetyl is a chemical flavoring that causes a lung disease known as popcorn lung. And for those who don't know, that occurs when the lungs get scarred so bad that it looks like popcorn has been popping all over the lungs. And it makes breathing very difficult for people who use these products. There are also volatile organic compounds within it, like benzene, cancer-causing chemicals like formaldehyde, and then heavy metals like lead, tin, and nickel. With those heavy metals, we are not sure if it's just within the liquid in these devices or if it's from that coil being heated up and then releasing everything through the aerosol. One other product that we're noticing at the Lung Association as one to be concerned about is nicotine pouches. I've actually spoken to some coalitions about this here in Marshalltown. And I was leaving the Marshalltown library and I drove past a gas station and they had a sign advertising a discount on nicotine pouches. So they come in a tin, kind of like chewing tobacco, and they're little pouches that release high levels of nicotine and a bunch of chemicals in there as well. They are mostly nicotine, which means that, like vapes, they are a product that we see high levels of addiction with. So they have similar side effects of using all other nicotine products, which I'll talk about here in a couple minutes. And again, they are highly addictive. Some other new and emerging products that we've been hearing about or seeing, we know that some of the vapes look like USBs. We got some of those on the right. One that I've been hearing from some schools in our service area is that they're seeing more of the ones that look like the drawstrings and hoodies. So that is one that's concern for us. There's also ones that look like They are from like a smartwatch, so you can pull out the little watch piece and vape from it. And this morning I was on TikTok actually, and someone had their little, the dongle for their keys, like to lock their car and stuff. And they pulled it out and it was actually a vape inside. So it looks like it's supposed to go with their car keys, but it is a vape. So the industry is constantly creating products that are addictive and appealing to young people to try to get them to use them, and then also creating ones that can be easily hidden. So those are some things to watch out with these devices. When we look at youth use rates, I do have some data on here from the 2023 National Youth Tobacco Survey. So this is most recent data from the National Youth Tobacco Survey that we have available. So more than 2.1 million youth currently use e-cigarettes. That's about 1 in 4 using daily. You can see the most popular products there. But the one area of concern that we have at the Lung Association is that almost 9 out of 10 use flavored e-cigarettes. We know that flavors are a big reason why youth start using these products, and that's reflected in current youth use data. When we look at Iowa-specific data, I wasn't able to find county-level data. We haven't actually done, the state hasn't done a county survey in a while, so we'll be, hopefully doing one again soon. But looking at the state data, this is from the 2021 Iowa Youth Risk Behavior Survey. Youth cigarette use stands at 4.1%. Youth e-cigarette use has increased from 9% to 16.4% from 2017 to 2021. And we know that based on the data from this survey that vape use increases with grade level. So in 2021, roughly 9%, of 9th graders vaped compared to 25% of 12th graders. So we know that with time that those rates increase. Although I don't think I included this data in here, but we did see in one of the national surveys that there was a decrease nationally amongst high schoolers. It was a very small decrease, but it was a decrease nonetheless in vape use. But we saw an increase in overall tobacco use. So that could be anything from chewing tobacco to vaping to smoking cigarettes. We saw an increase in all products amongst middle school students. So even though that's looking at it nationally, that is something that we are keeping an eye out for and educating our schools and our communities on. So when I go into schools and I talk to staff and teachers, we do talk a little bit about some of the signs of vaping. You can kind of read through it if you want, but I'll highlight a few. A fruit-flavored aroma nearby. Since flavors are very appealing to youth, they are most commonly used for vapes especially. We know that that is a sign. There may be a desire for flavor due to taste bud degradation. This is something that if students have questions about something like that, I do bring it up because one of my previous jobs before I worked at the Lung Association was at a bar, and one of my coworkers quit vaping while I was working with him, and he went to go taste something that night. He's like, "Why does this taste so good?" I'm like, "It's because you haven't been able to taste anything for how long?" So we do know that there is taste bud degradation with this. Some of these signs are common amongst all teenagers. So behavioral and mood changes, that's a very teenager thing. They're going through a lot of things as they grow up. So we know that that's not necessarily something that's going to be like the first sign. Something like putting their head under a blanket or in their sweatshirt or blowing into their sleeve is going to be much more common as a sign. So a little bit about how nicotine in all of these products is going to affect the brain. It permanently damages parts of the brain that control attention, learning, mood, and impulse control. A lot of youth who I've been able to talk to who have maybe quit a nicotine product or they're still using it mention how they started using it because they heard it would be good to help with their stress and their anxiety. And one of the for lack of a better word. One of the really sucky things about this is that it doesn't actually help with stress and anxiety. These products tend to increase levels of stress and anxiety because that feeling of being stress-free from using these products only lasts for about 30 minutes to an hour. And then once that feeling goes away, the body gets even more stressed than before because it's going through withdrawal. So we know that nicotine is addictive and individuals continue to use it even though they know it has harmful consequences. We also know that advertising tactics play a role in this. So as I mentioned, making these products appealing to youth, making them easy to hide. Maybe they'll use cartoons or celebrities on social media now. There are targeted ads that we're seeing more and more. And they use different product placement as well. The flavors, though, we know that that is a big deal. So it's the advertising that is appealing to youth plus the flavors combined that get youth intrigued in the first place. Maybe they, get word of mouth from their friends, or, maybe they see their family members using it, but there's something that's like, oh, this is okay to use. Then it's the high levels of nicotine once they use these products that continue lifelong use. About 90% of current adults who use tobacco products started before the age of 18. So getting into schools and providing prevention information is really, really important to us. Which is where I'll shift gears here and I'll talk a little bit about some of the programming. So this is an updated version of the Lung Association's comprehensive, oh my gosh, I can't remember the actual name, but it's the comprehensive plan to address youth cessation and prevention. And so I've updated it to include the programs we provide here in Iowa. So we start at the bottom with youth activism. So there's a program in Iowa called ISTEP, the Iowa Students for Tobacco Education and Prevention. There aren't any groups in Marshalltown, but there are 2 in Marshall County. So East Marshall Middle School and West Marshall Middle School both have chapters there. And these groups are required to only meet like 2 to 3 times a year, do 2 activities, and work on providing education to their peers in their schools and to their communities. And it doesn't necessarily have to be like going in and giving a presentation. We have groups who just like to chalk the walk, or last year East Marshall grew a garden. And so I was like, if you can connect that to healthy eating, I can connect that to what factors into tobacco prevention. Maybe we connect it to things are going to taste better if you're not vaping. So we talk a little bit about how to take projects that are maybe focused towards mental health or to the school community itself, and how do we tie that back to tobacco and vaping prevention within the school. Then if we look at the education component, this is more geared towards the adults in students' lives. So the Lung Association has its own program, and it's the Act to Address Youth Cessation, and that's an online program available through our website. I also go around and give presentations. We call them community engagement presentations, but I go around, I talk to community members, to teachers, to staff about tobacco product use among students and what we can do to support students. As far as policy change, as I mentioned earlier, I work on different policies within the community, but we also have the Vape-Free Schools initiative that I have worked with schools to kind of pull language from. As far as policy, we also can pull stuff from the Public Health Law Center, or ISTEP actually has its own policy guide. So as we go up to this comprehensive plan, we work on policy change. We also work on prevention. So up until last year, the state did not allow us to provide actual curriculum. We could only do individual presentations. And last year they let us start doing curriculum. So we utilized the Stanford You and Me Together Vape-Free curriculum. And that's available for elementary through high school students. So it's 2 lessons for elementary students and 6 for middle school and high school students. And it covers everything from advertising to how it impacts the environment, how it impacts their body, how nicotine impacts their bodies and minds, and what we can do to what prevention is important to you and to your school kind of thing. The state of Iowa also has its own programming available, and it's like a one lesson. It's got coloring sheets. I don't remember what it, Let's Make Healthy Choices. There we go. I almost forgot it. It's the Let's Make Healthy Choices lesson that I've been able to provide to schools. And then intervention. So one of the Lung Association's evidence-based programs is In-Depth. We also offer that online, and we call it an alternative to suspension program, but we also utilize it in prevention programming. And that covers a lot of similar topics to the Stanford curriculum. The one good thing about that is it's available online. So if a school wants to utilize it, they just have to have one person go through our free 1-hour training, and they don't even have to teach the program. They can just sit by and be there in case a student has questions. So a student can kind of work through it self-guided. We also provide the Not on Tobacco cessation program. So that's for students who are wanting to quit tobacco and nicotine products. My Life, My Quit is the state-funded program for students who are wanting to quit tobacco and nicotine products. It is available through online chat, text, and I think phone, but I don't think phone is used very much by the students. I've heard it more commonly used for the text and the online chat. And that's available for students who are 13 to 17, and it's private, confidential. They can kind of use it on their own time. It's also available to students who are 12 years old if they receive parental consent to use the program. And then for students who might be 18 and older looking at those high school seniors, the state does fund Quitline Iowa as well to help them on their quit journey. That's a lot of programming, but if you have any, I gotta go through what I've worked on in the Marshalltown schools, sorry. So I've only been with the Lung Association for a little over 2 years now, but I've been able to work really well with Lenahan and Miller. So in 2023, I provided presentations to Lenahan and Miller middle school students and staff, and I got to use the pig lungs. If anyone has ever gotten to receive a presentation with pig lungs, I think it's really cool. It's my favorite part of the job, getting to show off what non-smokers' lungs look like and what smokers' lungs look like, and to, have them see how much easier they breathe versus the other. In FY24, I provided presentations to Lenahan Intermediate School staff and students, and I used one of the Stanford lessons for that. And then at Miller, I was actually able to use the Stanford curriculum as kind of an alternative to suspension program there. With one student, it was kind of like a trial run that we did. And so if a student was caught vaping, we were able to utilize that program. I came up for, I think, 3 days in a row, and we went through 2 lessons each day, and we recapped at the end of it. And then I've also met with Lenahan to discuss what in-depth would look like in their programming, what the Stanford curriculum would look like as alternatives to suspension, or what it would look like even with suspension, what education would look like with that. And then this year I did presentations to Lenahan. I had other things we were going to work on this school year, but we kind of hit a pause around November with Lenahan and Miller. I'm planning to meet with them here at the end of the school year, hopefully, to kind of regroup and look at what we can do for next year. As far as what I've been able to do within the local community, I've been able to meet with Big Brothers Big Sisters, the public health director, different individuals to provide a lot of this information, to provide resources, provided resources to the Back to School Bash and the Healthy Family Fair. And I don't know if you want me to pass this around, but some of our resources include, since our grant is funded by the state, everything we provide is free. So we're able to hand out resources to schools and to organizations, and one of them includes quit kits, and this is a youth quit kit. It includes contact information for My Life, My Quit, a Pop-It keychain, some candy, different things to help them as they start to go through those first few days of their cessation journey. So if you want, I can pass it around. It's up to you. Sure. Sure? Okay. You can keep it if you want. I have like 10 of these in my car right now. I don't really need it right now. But yeah, that's all I have. If you don't think of any questions right now, that's totally okay. I have my email and my work number up there as well. But if you have any questions, I'd be glad to answer them.
I do. So do you have parent presentations or have you done parent presentations?
I know we've done parent presentations at other schools, but I haven't done them here in the Marshalltown School District. We're reworking some of our parent documents on how to talk to their students about vaping and tobacco use. It's been kind of an interesting journey to get that updated and try to get it comprehensive, but also like not too overwhelming, so then the conversations kind of flow easier and they have a direction they can go if they want to learn more.
Yeah, I'm just thinking because we have our parent academy. I think that would be a great presentation for them, especially so a lot of the families are newcomers too.
I mean, I'd be glad to do that.
And we've made available to parents through the Cook Center programming opportunities to engage on substance abuse, whether it be tobacco, alcohol, those types of things. One of the concerns about tobacco and nicotine is that, it's considered a gateway drug to potentially other things down the road. Do you include in your discussions at all, like THC abuse and that sort of thing?
Yeah, so that's one of the things we do bring up pretty consistently in our presentations, even if it's very vague, or not very vague. It's like a short part of it, just because since our grant is so focused on tobacco, we don't want to butt in too much on the other grant that works specifically on THC. That would be the IPN grant, I believe. But we do talk about how there's a lot of confusion with these products. And then within the Stanford curriculum itself for the middle school and high school students, the last lesson is focused on marijuana-based products and how they can affect the body and brain as well. Because since, like I said, those products can be fairly similar in how they operate when it comes to e-cigarettes and vape or marijuana pens, we look at how they might look the same, but they're different, and this is how they're both going to affect you. So it just kind of depends. I know the Lung Association itself, like our national staff, are working on some like comprehensive stuff, but it's nothing that I can provide straight from our own programming. It's coming from the other programming we work with.
Any other questions?
I do want to say before I forget, I have been like working on outreach to other schools. It's just when I started here, I'm grateful enough to be able to work with Shannon Chima at Satusi, and so she was able to get me in touch with Lenahan Miller. So it's an ongoing process to get resources to all the schools and have discussions with those school nurses and counselors. So I know I talked a lot about Lenahan Miller tonight, but just so you know, getting out into the other schools a little more as I go. So.
And I know several years ago, I want to say maybe 2021, the American Lung Association also provided lessons during Bobcat University.
Okay. That's good
so
to
that's
know.
something, it was like a week long of lessons that we partnered with. So that was pretty good for the elementary schools.
That's good to know.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, thank
Awesome.
you.
Thank you.
Okay, good evening. It's exciting to be here with our world language teachers. We have Jen O'Neill, who has been leading our world language curriculum adoption, and we have Becca Bell, Tanya Emerson, and Kristen Suches, who are here as well to help with the presentation, but also to answer any questions that you may have. So I'm going to hand it over.
That's good. Thank you. Okay, so our team was made up of the entire world language department at Marshalltown High School. So
Becca, Tanya, and Kristen are here, but James Christensen and Charlotte Santana were also included. And then we were very fortunate to also have Lisa Wymore join us, specifically working with Kristen when we were thinking through the lens of materials for heritage Spanish. While they all fit under the world of world language, heritage Spanish does align a little bit differently to different standards as well as the world language competencies. So Lisa's partnership was really key in our process. So the next slide is just going to show you something you've seen before. This is our curriculum adoption roadmap. This is the process that we followed starting in the fall. I will say this team was highly motivated to do this work, very engaged, and actually wanted to meet more often than typical. So loved that. This team was amazing to work with. And you can see that we are already in phase 3. We are ready to present to you today kind of our findings with this process and what we're hoping to purchase with this recommendation. So I wanted to just pull out, throughout our process, we ground ourselves in research before we even dig into materials, which I've said before, Shauna calls, it's like Christmas Day when we get to look at materials. So we did a lot of research. We looked at different articles. We looked at the world language competencies, which are very different than your typical core standards. And we had some really good discussions around, what are our goals? What's the criteria that we're going to set as we're looking at these materials? And so I just pulled out a few of the items that we really talked about were going to be important when we were looking at these materials and what we were going to score against. We had some very deep, rich, great conversations around the research and the competencies, and also very, very highly qualified, experienced teachers at the table really know what's best for kids. And so that also came into our conversation. So these were just some of the parts of the criteria, but really these were the goals that we wanted to meet when we were looking at the different materials. In addition, this team in particular really didn't really have the opportunity to go through this process. It's something that's really been refined, I would say, within my 4 years in this role. And so it was a little bit different for them from the last time that they were able to kind of look through some materials, which 2018-19 was the last time they sort of kind of had an opportunity to look for some things. It wasn't really the same process, but think about when that was. We were still using Google Classroom. We really didn't have Canvas. Technology has really evolved. Back then, it was a lot more textbook heavy and less digital platform. And something else I will say that I really learned in this process with the World Language Department is the selection of materials, I think, back then was not as vast as it is now. We're very fortunate to have several things to look through, and that just hadn't been the case previously. So it was definitely well overdue and a very valuable opportunity that we had. We looked at a lot of different materials, scored them all against our criteria, and we did things a little bit differently because there were a lot, but not as many as you would typically see for, some of our core classes. We actually had vendors come in conjunction with looking at materials, which was very, very helpful. They were able to kind of give us this guidance as we were looking through. We could ask questions in real time. We shared the criteria with them so they knew what we were looking for. And so we kind of had this like guided tour as we were opening our presents on Christmas Day. And I think that was really, really helpful to our team. And so ultimately, and crazily, we ended up really loving the same materials from the same publisher. You can see they were scored with our criteria we developed. And then we are looking at the same company, Vista Higher Learning, but there are different sort of texts for each one. So I am finally going to be quiet, and I would love for the teachers to talk a little bit about the highlights and why we were really drawn to this one, even outside of the scoring.
All right, so one of the major benefits of looking at this company is that the company focuses on world language itself. And as Jen highlighted, one of our content area is very different from those core classes in terms of, looking at the content we're teaching, looking at how we teach it, what we do on a day-to-day basis. And so having a company that kind of is focused on that delivery of that specific topic is really beneficial to us because it is one less thing to worry about in terms of muddling different topics, different ways to teach. And so we know that the focus is going to be on world language itself. It was very professional. It was very aligned to our standards. They have clear objectives. It was engaging and relevant. So what we're looking at is it connecting to students, what's important to them? Because we know that when students are engaged in their learning, when they're learning about things that are important to them, that they're interested in them, that learning takes place. So now when we look at these, the current textbooks we're using talk about magazine contests and cassette tapes, and the kids go, "What's a cassette tape?" So that was kind of interesting. And now we focus on, they talk about video games, they talk about sports, social media, real life vocabulary that, isn't just isolated into the context of the classroom anymore. Now they can take those skills and apply them to your real life. It's really awesome because they have authentic and diverse listening experiences. They bring in speakers from across various Spanish-speaking countries, which is great because Marshalltown itself is a very diverse community. So they get lots of opportunities to engage with that. The materials aren't static. They are constantly being updated in terms of month to month, newspapers, videos, news segments. So they're getting those authentic and diverse listening experiences that we want our students to have. In terms of Canvas integration, it will integrate beautifully with Canvas. It's already there, so we can take the learning that we've been doing in PD and then just continue to implement that with this wonderful curriculum. The diverse and evolving learning materials and tools, there are tons of student aids that basically bring our education beyond those four walls of the classroom. So when we're looking at pronunciation, when I'm talking face-to-face to a student, I can give them pronunciation cues. I can help them along, give them feedback with that. With this curriculum, they actually have programs and tools that are designed to aid students when we're not there. They can speak to the program. The program will then give them feedback on their pronunciation. It'll say, oh, maybe you need to, you forgot an accent here, stuff like that. And so it's really awesome to have that, those kinds of tools that are evolving with the technology today to be able to provide to our students. And then obviously there's a bunch of tools that are accessible to us teachers as well. That's going to make our lives easier in terms of, scoring, going through and instead of us going through and, docking every single accent mark that they missed, they have programs that'll go through and say, hey, I think there's supposed to be an accent mark. And as teachers, we can go in, we can modify those programs, we can customize that feedback. And then we can focus more on prepping our classrooms for our students rather than prepping the technology for our students. Anything else?
You did a great job. Yeah. I'll just add that for the Heritage, I was impressed that they include the ELA Common Core standards because a lot of my students could benefit from that. And when they get reinforced practicing in their first language, then it really helps. Research shows that it transfers to the second language. And so I was pleased to see that, but they also include 21st century skills that are necessary for careers. And so it helps them become more career ready. And so those were, and then I tested some of the lessons out on my students and had them rate for, clear objectives and engaging material, and Vista scored the highest. And so that was good to get their feedback.
I do want to make one comment. One thing that I struggle with anyway in the Spanish 4 level is getting kids to talk. It makes them nervous to talk in front of the class or in front of each other, or even just sometimes to respond to teacher questions. But this Vista program has synchronous and asynchronous speaking opportunities where you can give them assignments online and they can have a conversation just between the two of them and then submit it to me separately. So, I mean, there are some exciting opportunities about speaking that take some of the anxiety off of the students as well.
Thank you, guys. Yeah, you can see this is a very versatile and accessible program. I would say too, I know Charlotte's not here, she teaches a majority of our dual classes, and something we learn too, as students come into her classroom, they are still at varying levels. So they might be coming into dual Spanish 1, but they might need access to, something you might find at level 2. And so something that's really great about these materials is she can seamlessly move them in between the 3 different levels of her particular program. And that was very enticing to her, to be able to have a classroom in front of her with kids in the different books, working toward their goals and toward their standards. So that was very exciting. So you can see that we have gotten a quote for a 1-year licensing. We'd like to move forward with this with the intent of renewing that 1 year for the next 6 years. And what you'll probably notice as the renewal comes through is this is the high end of the quote, because we did include classroom sets of the textbooks, not one for every student, but one for every classroom. And so that's a one-time purchase. The renewal will include the digital license for the students and the teachers. And as typical, usually the teacher materials are free of charge. So usually you're just paying for the student licensures. It also includes enrichment libraries, which are digital, and that's also very exciting to our teachers, because we can extend and enhance our learning with our kids. Each teacher will get a teacher resource bundle for all of the materials that they'll be teaching, and then this cost also includes a 1-day in-person, because we really wanted in-person training, professional development for our teachers. And thought that was appropriate. Yeah, so any questions that you have for our team?
So Shauna, this will come back at the next meeting.
Discussion.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
Where's the funds come from? General fund. How much, I guess I didn't see the breakdown of the quote. Where did it come on the renewals? Typically, is it 30,000 a year, or what's the renewals look like?
We'll have that attached this next board meeting. I actually have the quote. We don't typically attach it for the first presentation,
Okay.
but if you want it before, I can always send it to you.
The quote has the, they did a really good job with that too. The quote has the breakdown, so you'll easily be able to see what's the cost of the digital component, what's the cost of the student textbook, what's the cost of the enrichment libraries, and it actually is broken down by each sort of, I'll call them texts, but traditional Spanish 1 through 4 has a program called Senderos. Dual language has a program called Thank you, Descubre. Galleria would be for heritage, and then Temas is for our AP. And so the quote, when you do see it, has all of that broken down.
Who drove the change at wanting to make this change?
Well, we have our curriculum adoption cycle, and so curriculum revision adoption cycle, and so world language is actually due for that process this year.
Everything's on a 6-year cycle.
So I know right now we're kind of limited to Spanish at the high school level. So is this something or if that changes, this same company has similar types of programs for other languages, I would assume? Okay.
I think, sorry.
I
should just keep it. Sorry.
Just keep it, Jen.
I just don't want to hog it. That I think Becca pointed out, one of the really nice things that was a plus with this company is they are only a world language curriculum company. So a lot of vendors also offer world language, but then they also offer math and ELA and science. And so they specialize in world language. So yes, they do have other languages that we could look at down the road.
Is that included in the price? Is that additional for every language?
It would be additional because it would be a different sort of text series, digital platform series for those languages. But with a 1 year licensure with the plan to renew every year for 6 years, if we happen to get a French teacher and we'd like to add French back in, then we could add that into the quote for the next year.
It's a by student licensure.
Yeah, by student licensure,
if-
right.
If it were French replacing a Spanish 1, then it's a trait, you would still have a renewal, but you would be able to slide French in instead of a Spanish 1 student license. Does that make sense?
Thank you for explaining that.
So it's like a substitute.
Yeah, that makes sense.
How many kids take any or all of these classes?
Good question.
I have 6 sections of Spanish 2, serving about 120 kids as the Spanish 2 teacher. I don't know how many you have.
As far as Spanish 4, the last few years, well, I've been here a long time. We used to have 2 sections of Spanish 4 at about 25 apiece, but that was before we added our heritage program, and so that was everyone. Now that we've added the heritage program and this select group of kids goes that way, I'm down to 1 group of Spanish 4 at 13 this year. But there are 22 signed up for next year, so I'm really excited about that. I currently have 85 in Spanish 1, and James Christensen also has 3 or 4 sections of Spanish 1, so.
I think that I think on the quote, this is ballpark, total students for all the programs was around 400.
Okay.
Maybe give or take.
And I guess I'll ask, but I assume the cost for this is well within whatever the budget is for curriculum and curriculum adoptions? Okay.
We have this adoption, and then we'll be bringing K through 6 science to you for discussion the next round. Those are our 2 adoptions for this year.
Any other questions? Well, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
I get to.
Me too.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Okay, we have Dave Stanfield joining us, and we have been doing an incredible amount of work around Canvas implementation at 7 through 12 this year. Last week, we talked with both Teacher Quality and SIAC around just kind of updating the Canvas progress, and I will tell you that is largely due to both to my right and my left. Jen and Dave have done an incredible job really thinking through Canvas and how it can help us with sophistication and allowing accessibility for learning for every single student anytime. So I'm going to hand off my microphone and let them take the lead.
All right, so just a quick introduction for Canvas. In case you're unfamiliar, it is our learning management system at the secondary level. As we have a lot of, online platforms and work that's assigned to students and things, having a learning management system that can meet our needs is really important. Just organizational aspect, workflow kind of component, but also providing a way for students to get the access to their content and the means that, meets their needs. So we adopted Canvas at MHS in 2019. We got started with that, kind of got onboarded that spring, started off that fall. And then, we know what happened in 2020, that spring, when we were just kind of getting rolling, kind of sidetracked a lot of plans we had at that time, and we just kind of had to get into survival mode. We had to learn a lot really fast when all of a sudden we were learning virtually and blended between at home and at school. And so, a lot of the work we had got done with Canvas was what do we need to know right now? And we got through that time, but then, it was time to come back and kind of revisit that now. So when we first started, we just kind of focused on using assessments, assignments and quizzes and things like that, just to kind of get those places in place, or those pieces in place. It worked for then, but we're looking to expand that a little bit now. So we've had a couple conversations with Miller. Was this still mine? Yes, mine. Okay. A couple conversations with Miller over the course of time and decided it was time to expand down to their level. Miller was using Google Classroom, which works well, but has its limitations. It is not near as robust as Canvas is, doesn't have a lot of the same kind of components as packaging content and integrating materials and other curriculums like you just kind of heard about with the world language adoption. So Canvas would allow us to just have some consistency between the Miller Middle School and the high school. And besides this, at a school level, consistency between classrooms. So we can use blueprint courses. So every teacher of the same course should have a starting point that's the same in their classroom as well. We're looking at ways to expand some visibility for parents and other student supports. So rather than parents just seeing an assignment as due, maybe actually seeing what's behind that assignment. What are you asked to do? What did you learn about? A little bit more detail and clarity there. And then that also goes into support staff. So all the people we have that support students that aren't in their classroom, they can actually have that better door into that learning environment as well and see what that staff is working on. And then everything is just more robust. There's just a lot more integration coming from our student information system and back. So, that course can get populated from the right kids. The content's there from the right curriculum, and then the grading and everything can happen right in there and flow right back to that student information system a lot of times. So it just makes things a lot more efficient and a one-stop shop for a lot of our students and teachers.
So this year, as Shauna said, we focused a lot on Canvas work. This was the first year for Miller to be exposed to that. And so we did a lot of professional development around Canvas. We started with in-person training with trainers from Canvas, really talking through the foundational and then also the advanced skills, because it's not new to the high school, but there are some components that we need to enhance with our high school courses. After we kind of did those foundational advanced skills, then we really talked about course design and structure. That's kind of the meat of Canvas. That also led us into developing a common vision, something that was started in 2019 when we had this for the high school. But now, we really needed to revisit that because this is more than just a high school thing now. And so we met with the admin from the high school in Miller, the instructional coaches, curriculum leaders, Dave, Shauna, and initially to put this vision together. And then we put it in front of teachers, parents, and we asked some students how they felt about, the things that we're trying to do with Canvas. And so we're sifting through a lot of that to just inform some of our next steps, including what's next with some of our professional development. And that leads us to what comes next. So we want to formalize that vision and really put it out there to all of our stakeholders. We are working to build expert Canvas certified educators in each building. And we currently have 12 Canvas certified educator licenses, I guess, for people to embark on that journey. And we have 12 people at Miller who are ready to get started. And so that will actually happen later this month. They'll begin their journey to be those Canvas certified educators. And I think part of that too is just building our capacity around best practices with Canvas and supporting that vision, so then we can continue to support each other and grow our knowledge within not just the building, but expand that to the district. So that support staff with course design and structure, thinking through working with PLCs to really, talk about needs. How can we coach around that? How can we help support those groups to make sure that their blueprints are robust, but also accessible to students? And then just continuing the opportunities for learning, both in person and asynchronously. We have several options for our online academy this summer that teachers will be able to elect into and really choose, the courses that fit their needs for learning and how they want to grow in their Canvas knowledge.
And this last slide here is just a few examples of some things that have been developed this year with our staff. So nothing too thorough and deep for you, but just some glimpses in. One thing we ask staff to do is, with all their courses, to make a nice, welcoming, inviting homepage. And so you can see an 8th grade science class there. This is clearly laid out. Helpful links and where to go is right there on that front page, making it easy for students to navigate. That middle picture, partially there, is what we call a module. So just a chunk of content that's in the learning management system. So here, besides just the assignment, you can see an introduction, some different lessons, and then an assignment and a quiz and some extensions beyond that. So everything kind of bundled together, and the students can linearly work through that in progression. And then just a sample assignment that we found there, kind of getting into accessibility and just kind of that mindset of, I know I'm teaching my class right now, but what can be in Canvas that a student can come back to at any time? And so just the details around this assignment was that, the poem will be printed for you today in class, but if you were absent, you can use this assignment to complete your work. So just being really clear and upfront and, knowing that students can access this, if they weren't there in that class that day for whatever reason, just need to come back and revisit or whatever. And then the submission types, you can kind of see a little bit there. We can offer students a variety for how they can show us that they understand. So they can do, a typical worksheet type thing they'd turn back in, but they can also upload something else, type in a text box, even record video or audio, just to show what they know. So a lot of different possibilities there for students. Any questions?
I just have a comment. I just think it's great that you can integrate that, because as they roll over to post-secondary education, MCC uses it, Iowa uses it. I don't know about Iowa State, but it's something that they are just continually using as they go into the colleges and universities, and they're fully aware of how to use it. So when I sit and I advise students, part of the advising is to talk about Canvas and how to utilize it. With MHS students, they just know. They just know how to do it.
Yeah, good point.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So this is on as an action item, correct?
It is.
Okay.
Yes.
So then I have a question.
Yeah.
So today, or previously, we've been using Google Classroom. What is the cost difference as we're switching from Google Classroom to Canvas?
You want to talk about the e-learning grant?
Yeah, I can. So switching from Google is a little complicated. Google is typically free, but then there are licenses to get some of the extra features. I think that Google Classroom is just straight free, but again, doesn't come with a lot of bells and whistles. All right. So previously, Iowa had an e-learning grant that we were able to take advantage of to get a lot of the licensure costs and things like that covered for us. Last year was the last year for that now. So now we are covering all the licensure costs and then all the add-ons and features that we have in there in Canvas. So it is a bit of a difference. The quote here we have on the agenda is $80,000, almost 81, but that's covering a lot of different things. All students and staff in both buildings. We also use Canvas for PD for all of our staff across the district, for like online academy type work. We have some extra certified educator licenses on there to help expand that into the high school for next year. I think we have some consultation hours, virtual training, some technology consultation to help get the parents on board, some work we have to do with that. So.
Yeah, we can pull it up too if you, the quote there.
And this is for 2 years, excuse me, for 2 years, right?
It's a little misleading.
Broken down.
This has been a kind of a segmented purchase over the time, and so we had some out-of-line renewal dates. So different parts were being renewed at different parts of the year. We just wanted to get that all together on one. So year one is actually just, I think, like a month long. We had to get an early renewal prior to use the funds available for that e-learning grant, so it had to be done in June rather than July one year. So now we're just kicking that back to get up to August 1st, which was the latest renewal we had on there. So that first year is really a month, and then that second year is next year. So it's kind of a Instructure's way of, keeping it organized on their end.
So for 1 month, for year one, it's $30,000, $134.69.
So they have longer to utilize though. It is kind of a confusing. So like the certified educator program, for example, those licenses we're purchasing in that 1 month, but we're going to ignite them or start them in January.
And there's a lot of non-recurring costs on there too. So some of those, it's not all licensure. So the certified, there's an administrator certificate that we're going to go for on there. We haven't had any thorough formal admin training since we started. So just to kind of get up to speed with that. An additional 20 certified educator licenses, the virtual trainings, consulting. Those are all non-recurring costs. So those are up there with that year one, but they're like a year-long benefit.
Thanks for explaining it.
I think it's almost better if you ignore the year one.
Yes.
Year two, and think of it as all happening next year. Does that make sense? Yeah.
Would that be recurring every year then? It would be an $80,000 cost.
So I don't think that it would be 80,000 every single year. What we're trying to do is really infuse a lot of learning and training for our teachers. The year two section, and Dave, correct me if I'm wrong, is really that reoccurring cost.
Yeah, it would be more like the year two figure.
Does that help, Liz?
Yeah, so you have it in the quote, it has reoccurring and non-reoccurring split out
There you go.
separately, like
Yeah.
down at the bottom here.
There you go.
So are you really talking you're talking that 5744, right? Like that's
right.
Okay.
Recurring every year.
We've not had to really present this in this detail with you because we've had the e-learning grant and we've not had to, ask for your permission to continue with Canvas. This is really the first year that we're coming forward and saying, this actually is a commitment or an investment to have a learning management system. And I'm pretty passionate that it's a sophisticated way for our students to learn. You're right that Google Classroom is free. And I think that it would be a mistake if we weren't to value the sophistication and intelligence that Canvas can bring to our students.
Randy, this is a general fund expenditure?
For this upcoming year. Yes.
Do we have this planned in the budget for this year, or is this an unexpected expense?
I would say it was somewhat unexpected, but when we spoke about this, we're basically bridging the gap for 1 year because after this upcoming year, we can utilize teacher quality funds to help pay for this after this next year, but teacher quality funds have already been committed for next year. So that's why we couldn't use teacher quality for 25, 26.
Okay, so it's a 1 year general fund purchase.
Yes.
Okay, I have one more question, I'm sorry. And maybe you talked about this. So when do the teachers like this? Did you talk about, so maybe I missed that.
That's a really good question. So we've had them highly engaged with Canvas this entire year. They've had professional learning around it. We've had their feedback around Canvas. We've had discussion posts where they've been able to really contribute their voice with the vision and accessibility. And I think it would be a massive change for them if we were to ever move away from Canvas. Like, I just feel like it's really ingrained into our system, and the teachers see it for its efficiency and accessibility for kids.
Okay. Students, what do you guys think of Canvas?
I think Canvas is 10 times better than Google Classroom. It does have a lot more options and things to do. Google Classroom is very limited what you can do, like they talked about. I mean, my mom, she doesn't like Canvas right away. She's less familiar, but once she got hang of it, I think she's fine with it now, and that's probably the same sentiment with Roger.
I think some of the features that they like, a lot of our curricular resources can be directly embedded into Canvas, so you don't have to go to an external site to access the materials. So they were speaking earlier about Vista for world language, and it will be embedded right in there. I think another feature that they really also like is the capability of you can cross-list your courses. So they can design their blueprint into their course, and then they can cross-list that with all of their courses. So all of their classes are essentially getting the same content, and they don't have to do that each time, which is a little bit different. Google Classroom, you had a separate Google Classroom for each course. And then a third thing I would say is, and I think Google Classroom had this, but I think it's a little bit more seamless with Canvas, is there's grade passback. So if they're looking at assignments and grading things in Canvas, it talks to Infinite Campus. So they don't have to go to two different places to grade assignments, assessments if they're in Canvas, things like that. So there's definite benefits. I think that I have heard some teachers, especially the newer teachers that hadn't had exposure to it before, they also talked to their kids. Some of the things that some of the kids said were, I like how some of my teachers have things organized. Some of the teachers had like a calendar on their homepage. So it would say, this week, here's what's coming up. And they really appreciated that. So the layout and the way that you look at Canvas is completely different than Google Classroom, which was basically just like a feed. This is able to be organized much better for students to find things.
Well, the only reason is because my son is taking a class and he is having problems with Canvas. And I think it might be because it's not set up. And so I was, maybe the training that this would include would help.
Yes, exactly.
That class go a little bit more smoothly. So that's why I was just curious to see what the students thought, because Nick has had some troubles with it at times.
I should have said this, I forgot. Dave went and talked, and Jen too. We were with the student council and really sought their feedback, like what is it within Canvas that helps you learn in what is conducive to learning, what's not conducive to learning. So we have all of their feedback as well. Just trying to keep improving.
Yeah, I think he has something to say. Yes?
Was that one of the dual credit classes offered online through MCSD?
I don't know for sure.
Because if it is, I had the same thing.
Did you have the same thing? Okay.
Yeah. So it could be that.
Okay.
The high school classes are usually pretty good.
Okay, sounds good. The high school.
No, that really does get.
At MCC.
This was brought up at the SIAC as well. And so I would say that the administrators and the teachers that are involved with SIAC spoke very highly of Canvas versus Google Classroom in that meeting.
Any other questions or comments? Then is there a motion to approve the Instructure Canvas quote in the amount of $80,878.70 as presented?
So moved.
Second.
Wise, Wall. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carries 6-0.
Thank you.
Thank you.
This next agenda item is relative or about a proposal to transition from our longtime existing board management system to a new board management system. Approximately 25 years ago, Marshtown Community School District became the first partner with Board Docs in the state of Iowa. And I know that because at that time, I had just become a first-time superintendent in Boone, Iowa, was familiar with Marshtown going digital with their board meetings, so we sent a group of our board members and myself to Marshalltown on Columbus Drive, where the board meetings were being held, to actually see it in action. And from that point forward, we also adopted it. And so We adopted it in Boone, we adopted it when I went to Bettendorf, and now, of course, Marshtown still has it. So for about 20 years, I've been utilizing the product with the board. We found out earlier this year that the company was being purchased by another company. I also recognize that there's been very little updates or enhancements to the product in those 20 years that I've used it. And so it was intriguing when the Iowa Association of School Boards a few years back partnered with Assembly, which is a rival board management system, but I would say a much more robust system as well. Abby, do you want to run that quick promo video?
The video doesn't work. I'm sorry. This is day one on the job.
With the challenges facing today's schools, the importance of community involvement has never been more apparent. From board members to parents, local business leaders to elected government officials, community involvement plays a very important role in ensuring academic success in all levels of education. Finding better ways to connect the local school board to the community is an important way of helping increase community engagement. It also facilitates improved transparency and helps build trust between the board and community. One of the ways many school districts are making that connection is by investing in a comprehensive board management system. To help increase community engagement and help the school board govern more effectively, our school district has adopted Assembly, a board management software tool that gives board members one place to manage important work related to strategic planning, board meetings, policies, and superintendent and board evaluations. Assembly also keeps the community updated on the latest board developments through an online portal designed specifically for community members. Assembly consists of 6 integrated modules. Each module may be used separately, but together they help the school board govern and manage more efficiently and effectively. Assembly's independent modules include Meetings. This module streamlines meeting preparation and ensures that agenda items and actions align to the district's strategic plan. Planning. The Planning module helps the board manage and implement the strategic plan by making it easier to track budgets, assign responsibility, and follow progress. Policies. The Policies module helps the board manage district policies and procedures, ensuring access to information by all stakeholders. Evaluations. The Evaluations module promotes accountability through superintendent evaluations and board self-assessments. Documents. Documents provide stakeholders with easy, secure access to board documentation. And Communications. The Communications module facilitates open, efficient communication, keeping everyone up to date on board actions and meetings. Visit the school district Assembly site for a look at these modules, including opportunities to engage with board members and access to the latest district policies, procedures, board meeting minutes, announcements, and much more. And to learn more about Assembly, visit eboardsolutions.com.
So in addition to having heard about it over the course of the last few years, because over 50% of Iowa districts currently are using this board or modules within this board management product, Randy and I had participated in a live session with a representative from Assembly who walked us through what their capabilities are. Randy and Maria, my executive administrative assistant, are the primary users of it. So they're the ones who truly need to make sure that it's user-friendly from their aspect, as well as, of course, for us as end users on the product as well. After Randy and I met with them, we spoke and we're in agreement. I don't want to speak for you, Randy, but you can say a few words as well, that we felt like this was a great time to make a transition. And probably the two things that stuck out to me the most were the robustness of this system in comparison to what we've been using, and the customer service that is both available through Assembly, but also through the Iowa Association of School Boards if we run into difficulties. And the other thing is that all of our past history with board docs should be able to relatively easily be exported from the board doc system into the Assembly system. And so what our plan would be and what we're proposing is to buy 3 of the 6 modules. The 3 that we felt were most important are the ones that we currently have: the meetings module, meeting management module, the policy module, and then we also want the planning module, because that will allow us for us to upload our strategic plan and to be able to use it within the agenda in terms of tagging items so that we can keep track of what applies to what within the strategic goals. It also has a strategic plan scorecard feature, which will allow us also to track progress towards the accomplishment of those goals, and will help us when we give either biannual or quarterly or bi-trimester updates and reports on our progress there. It does cost a bit more. I think we're paying right around $10,000. Part of that is because of being grandfathered as the first district on. We started at a lower price than most with board docs, and then over time with increases it stayed lower than most. The other part would be adding that strategic planning module, which is about $5,400 of the $7,000 difference from what we've been paying board docs. In talking with them, what our plan would be if the board approves this would be we would start our subscription June 1st, which that month of June would allow, the month of June and then the first few weeks of July would allow us to get all of the data uploaded and the first agenda ready with their support for that mid-July meeting. Randy, I don't know if you want to add anything or?
No, I think that pretty well covers it. I would probably say the only thing that you didn't touch on was with it being partnered with IASB and the policies. So whenever IASB pushes out their policy primers, it'll automatically push into Assembly. So it'll take out some of the manual processes with our policy updates that we currently have. You'll still be able to review and approve and make changes, but everything will automatically flow through into the system.
Questions? Then, is there a motion to approve the transition from board docs to Assembly as presented?
So moved.
Second.
Stanley Hernandez? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carries 6-0. Kids, you're up.
Kids.
What are you going to do with your first and third Mondays of the month now?
Sorry, what was that?
What are you going to do with the first and third Monday of the month now? You're not going to have
Sleep.
There you go.
Yeah. Get money, work.
Yeah.
Probably. Okay, so first event, the NHS, so National Honor Society induction, was April 23rd in the MHS auditorium. So we had approximately 32 students inducted into this, and they were all currently sophomores or juniors. So next year they'll be juniors and seniors. So with that, we had several speakers. So NHS officers, myself, Lege, who's also a member, but not as student member, sorry, who's not here, and then a couple other of our officers. We also had Justin Bolivar speak, Susan Fritzell speak, who is our club, well, not club, but the sponsor. Yeah, sponsor. And then we also had Sue Cahill speak for our keynote. So yeah, so it was a great ceremony. We were able to recognize all these students, and they're all inducted based on our four principles: scholarship, service, leadership, and character, and all of them having and excelling at that.
And tomorrow we have our meeting, and they'll be voting on who are the next officers for this upcoming year. Since we already talked about this tonight, I think we can skip it because it's the same information.
So not that long ago, there was a band concert. They gave an outstanding performance, and the seniors wore their prom attire. They were able to bring their hard work to life through their concert performance. National Honor Society rolled up their sleeves and stepped up for the planet on Earth Day. They volunteered and they ended up cleaning, I think, around 7 to 8 bags of trash. Their efforts made a visible impact and sent a strong message about the power of community and environmental responsibility around the high school.
Okay, so this is a typo because we were talking about National History Day State. So this is National History B, and Jacob Purchase, who we all know on the school board. He plays 16th at National History B in Arlington, Virginia, and is out of a pool of around over 100 students across the country. And so he, as it says there, plays third in his semifinal room. And so as a junior in his first time doing this History B, is very neat to see he went that far, and it's exciting to see what he can do next year. I believe I was talking to him the other day, and he said he qualified for an international one that's in Paris, but he's yet to consider if he wants to go to that or not.
I love that he's rocking the Sub-City shirt.
Yeah, I like that. Sub-City shirt.
Representing Sub-City.
And then the concluding event that we're going to talk about is prom. It was actually a while ago. I feel like it was a while ago, April 26th.
Time flies.
It does, I'm telling you. The theme was Roaring 20s for this year. And honestly, I think it was a huge success being a student. The events this year, especially for after prom, were very fun. We had we switched it from last year, it was dodgeball, and this year it was actually volleyball. I found that to be very amusing. Along with that, we also had like fake gambling. We had like blackjack and poker and roulette and probably something else, but it was all really fun. I think that all the students really enjoyed that. And in addition to that, we had some local police department folk come out, and we did a really fun laser tag event that was out there as well. We utilized the Aux Gym for that, and I think all the students had a great time, and I look forward to what you guys might do or what the students decide to do next year.
Okay, thanks, guys.
Thank
you.
Xander,
yep, and then
Oh, okay.
next meeting, since that'll be your last meeting, it would be nice if you would, as part of your report, give us some idea of what all of you guys are planning on doing after graduation.
I actually am unable to attend that. Do you
That's all right.
Do you just want me to wing it right now?
You can wing it right now.
Okay.
Or
Okay. I think
you
I'll
can
just do it.
you can
I'll
just
just do
let
it right
Charlie
now.
tell us.
I'll just do it right now.
Okay.
So I'm going to attend Iowa State University for aeronautical engineering. I'm actually dorming with Chuckles here. So we're dorming with him and the other really smart guy that came probably a month ago, Owen Eaton. In addition to that, I have no idea who our fourth is going to be because we're going to be in a suite, hopefully in Eaton or Martin Hall. In addition to that, I plan to join the Rocketry Club at Iowa State because that's something I find very fascinating to me and hopefully end up in NASA eventually. This summer, I'm also doing baseball, and I am participating in an internship over in Gilman. There's a manufacturing company that I'm working with, and hopefully that'll help me kind of get my feet wet in a sense when it comes to joining the working world and everything like that. So I'd say that's my plan. I'm also graduating from Marshtown High School with my associate's degree in engineering, so I'll probably only attend for 2 years at Iowa State, finish my degree, and then I'm going to Florida. So I want to... Yes, I have applied for the honors program, and I will hear back soon on that. So hopefully I can get into that, and that would also open a couple opportunities up for me for scholarships and stuff like that for the future.
Nice. Good job.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You don't want to stay in
I
Iowa?
had jumped the gun and already given these guys their flags, but this is a small token of appreciation from the board for your service and participation. We definitely
Chuckles, huh?
enjoyed.
Oh, yes, yeah.
We definitely enjoyed getting to know you better. Wish you best of luck. And we gotta get a picture, so you guys are gonna have to get your plaques back out.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, that was my fault for jumping the gun.
With no potato.
And then we'll get.
Where are we going for that?
I'm saying where he's going first.
I don't know about
Where do you want to?
See, I mean, it's a fairly common.
The other two will be at the next meeting, so we'll
Just
get-
they line up right here.
Right here?
Yeah. You can put Chuckles in the middle.
Yeah, that's right, Chuckles in the middle.
Whatever works for you.
Smile.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Figure you're gonna do your little pitch.
Oh, should I do that too?
Why not? Go for it.
Is this just you or Pete and Mitch coming up for the 28E agreement or not?
This one I'll cover.
Okay,
Yeah, so.
hold on.
The city council met, I believe it was last Monday, and they approved the agreement that was drafted to do the 50/50 financial cost share relative to the 100-year-old storm sewer that runs diagonally across Franklin Field that needs to be replaced. And so now we need board approval to be a part of that cost share.
Questions? Is there a motion to approve the 28E agreement with the City of Marshalltown to share the costs for the public storm sewer replacement at Franklin Field as presented?
So moved.
Wall Hernandez? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carries 6-0. All right, now it's your turn.
All right. Well, good evening, everyone. Thank you for allowing us to be here and giving you an update on the latest round of bid results. And before I turn it over to Mitch, quick introduction. Pete Perez with Boyd Jones, Director of Education and Municipal Services. And in the spirit of Teacher Appreciation Week and also with Global Learning Curriculum, muchas gracias. A couple of thoughts before Mitch, I don't want to steal his thunder, so I got to restrain myself here. But as I was listening to Mr. Black's presentation earlier regarding the 15 dimensions that your district has gotten some results on, 3 of them really resonated with me. The first one was pride. And the reason pride was important in this regard was because once you hear what Mitch has to offer regarding the results, I think you'll understand there's a lot of community pride in your community. So Mitch will speak to that. The second one was engage and inspire. The task at hand was for us as your agent to solicit bid results that were in your favor for the project. And when Mitch speaks to that, I think you'll understand why that matters. And then the third one was mission conscious. It's our commitment to you as your agent to ensure that the whole team is producing outcomes that are positive and will lead to transformational solutions. So at this point, keep in mind as Mitch gives you the update, pride, engage and inspire, and mission conscious. So that was my takeaway from Mr. Black's presentation. So, Mitch?
Thanks, Pete. Abby, could we bring up the cost history document, please? So these documents were sent over to the group last week, and so as Pete alluded to, we had our bid opening for the concession restroom facility a couple weeks ago. And what you're seeing here on the screen is basically kind of our timeline from pre-bond to where we're at today. So obviously if we see where we started, Abby, if you want to scroll clear down to the bottom, because those are the two that we need to focus on. The last time that we were here, and sat as a group to speak about Franklin Field specifically, we were estimating just under $7.8 million. And that was before we had anything come in for the concessions building. Obviously, understanding that from pre-bond to where we were at that time, we had some unknowns that had come up during that process with the additional earthwork to raise the field out of the floodway, with the storm sewer that Dr. Schutte had just mentioned, with the unknown code requirement for the restroom facilities that increased the number that we needed, which increased the size of that concession facility, and had us move that out. So that got us to the 7.8. Ultimately, we got bids, and we had an incredible turnout for a project that is less than $1 million. We had 13 bids on 3 bid packages, which we were hoping that we would get 1 for each bid package. And we had multiple on all 3 bid packages, which ultimately led to the construction coming in over $100,000 lower for the construction portion of the project. There were a couple additional project costs, which if you can go to that full development cost sheet, that increased that portion, but ultimately we were still about $40,000 under where we had been prior to the last time when we were here. That also did not touch any of the owner contingency, which is another line item that is within this overall additional project cost that you see down there at the bottom to get to that 7.8 and change number. The other piece that I think was alluded to when we talked about this the last time we were here was there were some additional funding sources that were going to be utilized for this to help kind of bridge that gap. So what you're seeing below here is after we had met with Randy and Dr. Schutte, Randy and I stayed on to kind of just itemize those out so that we could understand ultimately what the impact to the overall bond was. And so that 6.85 number is really what that overall impact to the bond will be, which if you look back at that full development cost, we were at about 5.8. So that we've really minimized that gap, but we've understood and you guys are getting the full project within that amount. Pete mentioned the fact that there's community pride. The bulk of the construction teams that are going to be working with us on this project are local to Marshalltown, which was a huge win for this group. We come in and typically we will try to get the majority from local, but inevitably there's always some struggles when doing that. This town had a huge turnout, and a huge turnout in a big way for you guys to make this thing a success. There's a lot of people that want this place to win, and it showed. So ultimately, what we're looking at here is the reflection of that, and I think that this is going to start to roll and create more momentum as we move into Miller as well. That we're already seeing excitement for this portion of it. We're going to continue to see that excitement as we move into the rest of this project. And so I think Pete and I would both agree that we're excited to see what happens over the next few months as we start to really develop the design. Now that this first stepping stone is already in place and we can start building and people can see stuff starting to go into motion. So it made me feel proud to be able to come in here today and tell you guys that, hey, we were under where we were at the last time. And so what the last document that you can pull up is the amendment. This is going to look real familiar to what you guys saw the last time we came in here to talk about cost. This is the amendment for the full Franklin Field project, which will supersede the original one. So this is going to be for the $7.8 million amount. And this is the exact same document that has all of the clarifications, all of the bid tabs, and all of that additional backup with the documents that allows us to start moving this thing forward. So there's obviously a lot of information here, but I'd open it up to any questions that you guys have that we can answer.
Zach seemed like he had a question, but maybe he doesn't.
You saw a retaining wall on there as they're strolling.
There is some retaining walls on there.
So basically it's the same document we saw the other day, correct?
It is. It is. This just added the additional cost in here for the concession building.
So who are we recommending awarding on the concession building?
Let's see, so the back page should have the bid tabs.
It's Hay Construction.
It's gonna be a combination here, so it'll be, I guess it's the third, nope, not the third to last, sorry. It'd be fourth to last page. There's a bid package summary for the concession and restroom facility. So Hay Construction would be general trades, Capon and Brown for the plumbing and HVAC, and then
Page
Klein
19,
Electric, who also had the electrical for the main portion of the field as well. So we didn't have to split that contract, which would have made things a little bit more tough when it comes to a coordination piece when you have two different electricians working on the same site. So this worked out obviously in your guys' favor.
See, I would have said interesting, but you went with tough. That's fine.
Yeah.
How about the bleachers? Who got that?
So it is Expert's Edge. That was through the original one, but it's American Aluminum is their supplier. So
Abby,
also
page
local.
19.
Yeah, it's really those bottom three is what would be new.
So American Aluminum is Jim Palmer.
Yeah.
When we start on this again?
I think there's a groundbreaking tomorrow from what I've heard.
Yep.
Yeah, they've started to put safety fence up, so it's ready to start rolling.
Contracts are mostly in place at this point now, so things are starting to move.
Any other questions, comments? Okay, then we need a motion to approve the amendment to the AIA agreement with Boyd Jones as construction manager for the Franklin Field project as presented.
Move to approve.
Second.
Hernandez Morales, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no.
No.
Motion carries 5-1. Thank you, guys. Now, will you be out there with a shovel tomorrow, or?
I will not be. Pete will be.
Pete?
I'll be there.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Hello. You've been very patient.
Hey, I've had fun listening to all the things, so it's good to be here tonight. Hopefully mine's pretty simple. Every year the USDA sets minimums for adult price meals at school. And so because the district is CEP and plans to continue to participate in that community eligibility provision, providing meals at no cost for students, the only action we need to take is approval of the new adult price meal for lunch. The current adult price meal is $4.84, and the new minimum is moving to $4.97, which is a 13-cent increase, which I'm recommending we just stick to the $4.97. And then additionally, with, food prices kind of sneaking up on us, I do recommend that we go up a quarter on breakfast from $2.50 for an adult breakfast to $2.75 for an adult breakfast for next year.
Any questions for Lynn? Then is there a motion to approve the new adult lunch meal price of $4.97 and adult breakfast price of $2.75 for the 25-26 school year as presented?
So moved.
Second.
Stanley Wise, all in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, say no. Motion carries 6-0.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Lynn.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Good evening, everybody. Have a few more employee groups to go through in order to get ready with our letters of assignments for next year. Our first group is our secretaries and administrative assistants. We are proposing a 2.96% increase to their salaries for a total of $122,415.46. That includes FICA and IPERS. And we are also proposing that, just as we have done for many summers now, allowing them to have summer hours if they choose, as has been provided in the past.
Any questions?
Is the summer hours, is that a year over year we look at that, or is that going in full effect?
Well, the board has usually approved that, and if they choose, they have 4 9-hour days and then 1 4-hour day.
Historically, it's been brought back every year for review.
Okay.
And not everybody chooses that. And there are 2 positions that are not allowed to choose that, and that would be the receptionist here and the receptionist at the Welcome Center. Or all of the employees at the Welcome Center, actually, for enrollment purposes.
There's usually someone in that building to cover that Friday or whatever day they're gone.
Correct. We want to welcome our new families to Marshalltown in the summer.
But the secretaries are not allowed to do summer hours.
Oh, yeah, the secretary.
Oh, they are.
In
Okay.
the buildings and stuff. Administrators.
They just got to make sure that somebody's there.
And you'll see that proposed, Zach, in most of these groups, that same proposal for summer hours.
Any other questions? Then is there a motion to approve the 25-26 secretaries and admin assistants meet and confer proposal as presented?
So moved.
Second.
Wise Morales, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carries 5-0.
Our next group, which is not represented by collective bargaining, is transportation. And in this group, we're proposing a step advancement of 37 cents added to the base for drivers, including FICA and IPERS. This represents a 2.97% increase for a total cost of $20,835.69. We also propose an increase of 35 cents on each step in the bus monitor pay, and this equates to a 2.97% cost increase, including FICA and IPERS, for a total of $6,530.78.
Question I have here is.
Yes.
Is that on the, where are we at on bus drivers, out of curiosity? Are we fully staffed?
No, we're never fully staffed with bus drivers. We do have some substitutes. Sometimes our mechanics will have to drive. We are really close on that, but we do have an aging workforce in the bus driver unit.
How does this compare to other districts or maybe even city bus drivers?
It's a challenge nationally. We can bring Rex back to have this conversation. He would be closest to it.
He works really hard, and they get it done. Sometimes they have to run 2 routes in order to get everyone to school, but if there's not enough substitutes.
I think we've been more fully staffed in transportation this year than we have in the last 4 or 5, actually.
That and monitors, bus monitors.
So it's a 35-cent increase to each step. So is that just a 35-cent across the board? Okay, I just want to make sure I was reading that right. Okay. Okay.
Any other questions?
Then is there a motion to approve the 25-26 transportation meet and confer proposal as presented?
So moved.
Second.
Wise Hernandez, all in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, say no. That motion carries 6-0.
Our next group of employees are called other hourly employees, and this group includes many of the IT staff, so the technology staff, human resources staff, business office staff, bilingual attendance specialists, and a few more. Our proposal is to consist of a cost of increase of $47,669. I'm going to say that again, I'm a math major. $47,769.11, or 2.96% increase. And this proposal will also include permitting, again, those combination of summer hours and a 1-hour paid early release on New Year's Eve for the 12-month staff. That's an additional day that they've asked for, and 1 hour early release.
Are there any questions?
The additional day that they're asking for, is that something that others are receiving and they're just not, or what's the?
So they currently leave early the day before Thanksgiving and the day before Christmas Eve day.
All 12-month hourly staff get it, so the other hourly and the 12-month secretaries get this.
Okay,
Early
so
leave.
it's just not, this group is the only group that doesn't receive this today.
To New Year's Eve. The secretaries don't either. That wasn't, that probably should have been clarified. That was part of the recommendation for the secretaries too, was the addition of the early release for New Year's Eve. So 12-month secretaries and now the 12-month hourly employees are, that was part of the request with the meet and confer, was to add that day on top of Thanksgiving and Christmas
That's my,
break.
apologize for that. That is true.
So a 1 hour early out.
Correct.
Paid.
Paid, yes.
And that way, everyone that would be here at that time would be treated equitably.
Correct.
Any other questions? Then is there a motion to approve the 25-26 other hourly employee meet and confer proposal as presented?
So moved.
Wise,
Second.
Morales? All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, say no. Motion carries 6-0. Keep going, Liz, you can get them all.
Next is the other salaried. These are folks who do not fall on necessarily the teacher salary schedule, not part of a bargaining unit, but they are salaried employees. And so this group includes salaried tech staff, our juvenile court liaisons. That is not true. Not true? It's juvenile court liaisons, no.
Sorry,
That's
board
my
docs
fault.
kicked me out. I'm
That's
trying
my
to get back
fault.
in.
School resource specialist, that's true. Instructional design specialist who saw tonight was Dave Stansfield. The auditorium,
Right.
and the nutrition supervisor, the yellow migrant coordinator, and attendance coordinator. The proposed would be consist of a cost increase of $35,217.82, or 2.96%, which is what we did for MEA, and includes the continuation of summer hours the same as in prior years. These are 12-month employees.
Questions? None. Is there a motion to approve the 25-26 other salaried employee meet and confer proposal as presented?
So moved.
Second.
Wise, Morales? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carries 6-0.
My final group is the full-time substitutes. Full-time substitutes currently are paid $155 per day, and we are proposing to up that to $160 per day for a total cost of $8,524.15. However, any new full-time substitutes would stay at the current rate, as the same as any of those who are hired after January in the standard protocol. They do not receive a increase if they're hired after January 1. So all new employees would stay at the current rate. Just the current full-time substitutes would go up to $160 a day.
Questions? And is there a motion to approve the proposal regarding the full-time sub rate for the 25-26 school year as presented?
So moved.
Second.
Karina, was that? All right. Wise, Hernandez? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carries 6-0. There's one more, Jackie. You said that was your last one, but
There
there's
is
one
one
more.
more, but
I'll do
Dr.
this
Schutte
one.
would like to take that one.
So for the administrator meeting confer, and I think on behalf of Randy and/or Jackie, who sat in on these, probably of all the years I've been here, I felt like their requests were unbelievably reasonable. They, as has historically been the case, have requested for the same percentage increase as the teachers at the 2.96. And the different ask here, and we've talked about this for at least a year or two, is that they had requested consideration of a TSA again, and so what the proposal would be to offer a matching TSA of 1%, so the administrators, if they so choose, can voluntarily put in 1%, and then the district would match it with 1%. We also talked about the fact, as you know, we approved at the last meeting partnering with Cottingham and Butler to conduct regional analysis on compensation for both teachers and administrators so that we can have a better idea of how competitive we are with how we're paying for those folks or compensating those folks. And then the last caveat would be the availability of the summer hours as well. And I am proposing an additional amount of salary for a few individuals who have achieved advanced degrees, $1,000 for Amy Williams with her EDS, $1,000 for Brooke Will and Mark Lee also, who have their educational specialist degree, and $2,000 for Dr. Shauna Smith, who recently completed her EDD.
Questions?
So this is we had interesting conversation at this meeting, just around the TSS. And I would say I personally would not want to move forward with the TSS until after we come back with the recommendation from
TSA, you mean?
the
Sorry,
TSA.
yeah,
The TSA, until after we receive the recommendation from the or the information about the study from the salary and compensation study. One of the some of the conversation in the meeting was around recent candidates coming into the district and how attractive the district is, but this was not one of the things they were asking for. So I think as we come out of that study, we're going to see potentially different areas where we may want to put our funds. And at this point, I personally don't know if the TSA is the right place for us to be putting that additional money for those compensation packages. And I think the outcome of the study would better direct us to maybe where those funds should be going for this group.
Yeah, that's fair. You weren't here last time when we talked.
I wasn't here last week when we talked.
Yeah. And we had exempt session conversation about all those things. And that's where this recommendation came out of. So, I'm not, it's not like it hasn't been.
Okay.
Yeah, it was considered, and that was where this recommendation came from. Is that fair to say, Theron?
Yeah, and we've talked about this before. When we look at comparably sized districts or a bit larger UNEN member districts, about half of them offer TSAs, although the minimum that's offered is 3%, and it's not matching, and it goes all the way up to 12% for some of the larger metropolitan districts in the Des Moines area or the Quad Cities area and that sort of thing. So I believe approving a 1% matching TSA will go a long ways in showing appreciation from the board to our administrators and a willingness to be open to do something a little bit different, while understanding as well that we will be taking a close look at those regional comparabilities, which will be a little probably fairer comparison. I know, as I shared at that meeting, that it has been a challenge to compensate some of these newer administrators and have it make sense with what we're paying our current people right now. So that was largely why I wanted to do this study, not only for administrators, but for teachers too.
When I look at this, you know, to me, how other school districts do it with whether the 1 to 12% with no vested interest by the employee, I can't buy into. The 1% to 1 is not perfect, but if we're gonna do this, I think there should be more vesting interest also with the administrators, not only for us, but for them. And I'd like to see it even higher, that they put in 3 or 4% to get the 1 or 2%. Helps their retirement, helps the district out long-term where they could retire earlier if they chose to. That's kind of where I stand.
Well, and they may have their own annuities where they are putting money in. This is just giving the option to participate in a district annuity. And I think Randy has mentioned that he is aware of a few districts that do matching annuities. I don't think it's more than a match for match, though.
Are they 100% vested from day one with the match?
I believe so. I don't know for certain. I would have to reach out to those districts and ask them.
But I would agree with you, Zach, on, unfortunately, a lot of educators, including administrators, don't start thinking about these things till late in their career, whereas if they were better educated and encouraged or enticed to start planning early, obviously it's hugely in their interest when they get to retirement age.
Any other questions or comments? Then is there a motion to approve the 25-26 administrator meet and confer proposal as presented?
Move to approve.
Second.
Hernandez, Wise? All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, say no.
No.
Karina, I assume you said aye, but I didn't hear you.
Aye.
Okay, I'm sorry. So then motion carries 4-2. Okay. Thank you, Jackie. You want to talk about your audit proposal?
Sure. This current year, let me start over. Our fiscal year 24 audit was our last audit under our current agreement with Hogan Hansen. So back in February, Hogan Hansen informed me that due to staffing issues, they weren't going to be seeking a renewal and sending an RFP for another 3-year contract with us due to staffing issues. So that prompted me to start a process to start sending out RFPs for new auditors for this current fiscal year. So they would do the audit next year. After some research, there's very limited audit firms out there. So sent RFP request out to 5 audit firms in the state. Got proposals back from 2 of those companies, which you see before you here tonight. I don't know, Abby, if you want to open that. Yep. So got the RFPs back, did an analysis. The first one was from Barr & Company. They are a fairly new firm. Alex Barr, the managing partner there, is a former school business official at Atelma and then left Atelma to go work at an audit firm and now is out on his own. And then there's Bonsack and Frommel. They're out of Moline and have been doing school audits in Iowa for over 10 years and have a lot of experience with several districts across the state. Barr & Company is fairly new. After putting the analysis together, even though BAR is initially on the surface more cost-effective, Bonsack and Frommel is cheaper by the hour, and also have more experienced team members and specialize more in school district audits of this size. And with my own auditing background, Bonsack and Frommel just has a more proven track record than BAR and company. So, and I did share this with the Finance Committee last week as well, too. And so my recommendation tonight is to approve the 3-year contract with Bonsack and Frommel as presented.
And I'll just add that I have, I think it's 2 or 3 years' experience working with that firm in Bettendorf, and they were outstanding for us there.
Questions? I didn't read through all of the RFPs, Randy. You did through your analysis and your evaluation and
No, I think with some of the personal, professional goals, whatever you want to call them, that I have for the district and our financial statements and our office in general, I think Bonsack and Frommel would be a stronger partner to reach those goals and give us a more thorough and in-depth audit that I think is necessary for a district of our size.
that was my take, was that you're probably going to get a more thorough audit from them than you will from from BAR.
Yep.
And I think that's what is appropriate for this district.
I agree.
Is there a motion to approve the 3-year contract with Bonsack and Frommel as presented?
So moved.
Second.
Stanley Hernandez. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carries 6-0. Zach, I assume you were listening back there and you didn't just come in and vote on whatever was up.
He's on the finance committee.
I know,
so.
but and then you got another one, Randy.
I do. So proposing to set a public hearing at our next board meeting for the 24-25 certified budget amendment. This is not an additional tax. This is just working through the current year, or working through the FY26 certified budget process. Part of that exercise is looking at our current year expenditures and where we're projecting to end up. So there is a proposed amendment increase of just under 16.4 million. A lot of the increase is related to timing of the CTE project as well as the start of Franklin Field. The instructional function, a lot of that is due to the CTE project. We did have to furnish that wing, and a lot of those expenditures came in during the summer, and those are coded in instructional function code, so there was some timing with that. We also have filled quite a few of our positions, particularly our para positions, more than we originally anticipated, so that played into that 5.5 million number as well. Support services, a lot of that was timing of our buses. So as you know, Rex has been coming to us the last couple of years, and buses have been on back order for 2 or 3 years. Well, we ended up getting, I think it was 2 years worth of bus orders in at the same time. So a lot of that was timing, and we were told they weren't going to be here till September, October. They ended up showing up in March. So some of those coming through. Non-instructional, Lynn touched on it earlier tonight with her presentation. Food service, just food costs have gone up there. And then on the other, again, that's timing, with the CTE at the beginning of this fiscal year, and then doing the budget last year. We weren't really sure exactly when some of the construction for Miller and Franklin was going to be starting. So now that the Franklin Field is going to be starting here in the next month or so, we're anticipating some additional costs there. So most of the 16.4 is just timing issues from one year to the next, but that is a rough breakdown of the amendment. That does require a public hearing similar to the certified budget. So the recommendation asked in front of you tonight is to set the public hearing at our next board meeting.
Any questions for Randy? Then is there a motion to set a public hearing for Monday, May 19, 2025 at 5 PM and direct the board secretary to publish the budget amendment in compliance with Iowa code as presented?
So moved.
Second.
Wise, Stanley? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carries 6-0. Policies.
Me.
Yeah,
Okay.
go for it.
So the first one is 201, Board of Directors elections, no changes marked as reviewed. 202.3, term of office, no changes marked as reviewed. 202.4, vacancies, no changes marked as reviewed.
Any questions for Maria? Okay, they will all be marked as reviewed.
Thank you.
Thank you. Abby, you got anything more for communications this evening?
Just you are going to be at the groundbreaking tomorrow. Please keep in mind, we're going to have 2 Des Moines TV stations. So if you're particular about your outfit, anything like that, there's a possibility you might end up on 5 o'clock news. So.
Okay.
I know. Yeah, we're going to talk about that.
Any committee reports?
We had SIAC.
Okay.
So in addition to the Canvas conversation, we reviewed the bullying and harassment data, and there were some things in that we felt were kind of surprising. One of those was 60% of the bullying and harassment was reported as happening in the classroom. So we thought that was odd. We expected it to be happening in the hallways or somewhere else, more public areas. So we had a really interesting conversation about that, around how bullying and harassment data is different from just regular behavior data that maybe is more opportunistic, as it's kind of a ongoing type of activity and becomes more a habit and pervasive. And then 40% of the type was other. And so that was odd too, where we were like, what does that mean? And so one of the things that came out of that, just from the conversation, was that was more, the other type was where it wasn't directed at somebody because of their protected status. It was more directed at them just kind of in general. So.
Not because of a disability, not a gender.
Yeah.
Mean because I want to be mean.
Because I want to be mean, I'm going to be mean to you. Yeah.
And you're in front of me?
Yeah.
Kind of video.
Yeah. And so the action that really came out of that was more talking about district-wide behavior and reporting standards, and trying to restart some work that maybe has kind of fallen off with the MAT transition. So.
We wrote a goal
Mm-hmm.
that we would improve consistency and accuracy of bullying and harassment data reporting. We're fully implementing a district-wide behavior matrix, providing clarity on data input and implementation. We started that work, it was interrupted with Matt.
And there'll probably be a need to bring greater clarity as to what this new language relative to bullying and harassment means, that the legislature just passed.
We reviewed our board policy, so my guess is we'll
It'll,
have some changes there.
yeah, it'll get adjusted, yeah.
Any other committees meet?
What?
Did you have any committees meet, Zach?
No,
TQ.
TQ?
And we also did the Canvas.
Yeah.
Remind me, what else did we do? Was it the learning every day? Was that was sad because you were in it, right? We did the logo or the.
Oh, yeah, we were talking about the logo for camp. Yeah, we talked about that. That was in SIAC.
Oh, that was SIAC.
So the Canvas Certified Educator course that our teachers are taking. We talked at TQ about the like teacher stipend that will go along
yes.
with that. And it is a 3-year agreement for them to be committed to the district. So they finish the Canvas Certified Educator course, and then they sign a 3-year agreement to continue with us. And if they don't complete that 3-year agreement, then they have to pay back the stipend.
And
So we
there's
approved that.
And there's teachers interested already, so there is.
Yeah, 12 at Miller, and those were a part of the e-learning grant. I was already thinking, like, I should have probably explained the e-learning grant. Like, it's been a very ambiguous, are we going to get this? Are we not going to get this? Is it available or not? And it's not, we don't always know until January, February of the year. So it's a very kind of interesting way for us to try to plan and budget for Canvas. But we tucked in those 12 licenses this last year, and that was a part of the e-learning grant. So we knew that we had 12 that we could activate, and we had to activate them before June. So that's why we've got our middle school, our 12 educators are starting here in May. And then what you approved is another 18 that will be high school staff that will start in January of next year. So we're excited about that. And we love the 3-year commitment that goes along with it too. That's it.
Oh. Do you want to share about Special Olympics and your dive into?
I heard you were a big hit today.
I heard from some people that you were lost in the water for quite a bit. You weren't coming
Oh,
up?
I guarantee you I got out of the water as quickly as humanly possible. Because the air was a lot warmer than the water was, and it was 50 degrees out.
I was
so.
supposed to make it and I didn't.
It was a lot of fun. I did not anticipate all of Lenahan School being out there cheering people on. It really made it exciting. There were like 70 people that took the plunge, so I just happened to kick it off because I had a meeting a half hour later, so I had to get in and get out of there. But no, it was a great event. I haven't heard what total dollars they raised, but I'm guessing it was around 7,000 or something like that. Wow.
Yeah,
that's good. Wow. I went to Special Olympics tonight, and the kids were all talking about it. So, yeah, it was fun.
Reminders: the Rogers School visits tomorrow morning, 10:30.
10:30.
The Franklin Field groundbreaking is tomorrow afternoon,
1:15.
Liz, you've got initial review policies for the May 19th meeting. Any other reminders? Anything I'm missing? Okay. What have we done this evening to improve education for the students in Marshalltown?
I think we approved Canvas to help. I agree with Karina. That's going to help them in college. So,
Very college ready.
yeah, very much, which is our mission statement. So
The HumanX data was great.
yeah,
I mean, just,
That's amazing.
you know, you're very correct when you look at industries outside of teaching. You don't see those types of numbers when you're looking at large corporations and that type of employee engagement. You don't get those response numbers for, just for the response rate for completing the survey is typically not as high as what we saw with this. So that's really amazing. And I liked your idea about we should be promoting this. This should be something that's helping attract talent into our organization.
We are, well, we're searching for a new Anson principal, and one of our potential candidates wanted to just ask me some questions, and one thing I could say is we went up in every single category and then they did them. So I think there's word of mouth, but there's more than that. It's just very fresh data.
From a communications and marketing perspective, it's a lot I want to get into your marketing and communications techniques. It's something that you can show quantity of, and it pairs really well with the storytelling. The storytelling takes you a distance, but then you put the numbers behind it, and it really seals the deal. So behind the work that we're doing to tell our own story and putting numbers with it, it really amplifies it to a new level.
I really love hearing about Rogers and how can I put it, healthy it looks.
Yeah.
Especially with student, family, and staff engagement. I mean, that's amazing, and I can't wait to see it tomorrow. I have a love for Rogers, and I want a T-shirt, so I'll be requesting one tomorrow. But yes, I think that's just such a positive. It was such a positive presentation. It was long, but it was positive. It was needed, and with being highlighted in Human X, that's just even a step up there.
Very different from a year ago.
Right, very.
Anything else? Okay. Is there a motion to adjourn? Oh,
Future agendas?
oh, yeah, future agenda, sorry.
So I guess I want to hear from Rex more at some point. I've been hearing from parents that, you know, in the past, we've been really good, we partnered with the city really well on bus routes, but it sounds like the city is struggling and canceling routes, and these parents are getting frustrated. I'm just curious kind of what Rex is doing or what we're doing as a district in this type of situation.
We were paying for those city bus passes for kids to ride that normally wouldn't qualify, so we're kind of at the, you know, we have to rely on the city to be able to find drivers to drive their buses so that we can pay for those tickets.
So there was no one past the mile limit that was jumping on the city buses. It was all within the whatever distance. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, those were all people that wouldn't qualify for our busing that were having challenges getting their kids to school, so we were capturing them with the city bus passes.
Okay. And I take it that's typically, is that just a standard over this mile distance, or is that a state law?
That's
What
state guidelines.
Guidelines, okay. So we were already going above and beyond. It just happened to,
Yeah.
okay.
And I think it's a city bus issue, because we're seeing that at MCC as well, where it's only going twice a day,
Okay.
all the way to MCC. And a very different, like 8 in the morning and 2:30, so.
I just worry about, you know, we talk about transportation, kids getting to school and, or getting home from school. I know in our district, I think it's just harder for parents maybe to pick up kids or take kids to school, and I don't know how to fix that. Just something I was curious about.
Yeah. Any other future agenda items? Then is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Oh, you just take your pick, Randy. Wall and then whoever you
Hernandez,
decide.
we'll go Hernandez.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
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 Say no. We are adjourned.
Oh, quick PSA.
PSA.
Pete heard that someone was